Hi, my name is Buzzyboo and my team name is the Megaferds. I chose Jirachi as my partner because they have consistently shown that they're a strong player in tournaments. If I were to invest in an opponent, it would be C9K3 Soju, because this guy played infinite games and I've only played 10 games this set.
Yo, what's up? My name is Broccoli. You can also just call me Joven. Our team name is Team Soulcast for Econ. The teammate that I chose is Raditz, also known as Raditz FN. My strongest opponent, I'd probably say, is New Bowel. I really respect his playstyle, and he's obviously ranked 1 at the moment, which would be an easy answer for me.
Alright, what's up? My name is Robin Songs. My partner is Ramblin. Our team name is Ramblin Robin. Who's our toughest opponent? I don't even know who's an attorney, dude. It's so free. Like, no one's... Ramblin's my toughest opponent.
I am Melton Hart. Together with my teammate Bryas2, we are Pokemon Fan Club. Honestly, I didn't want to choose a really sweaty top player as my teammate because I would just drag him down. For now, that makes my strongest opponent everyone. And if you're wondering about the team name, it's just a joke. Pokegam is a grief on sight.
My name is Nubao, and the team name that I chose was Radow. I chose DQA for my partner. If I had to invest in one of my opponents, then it would have to be Ramblin and Robin's team because I think Ramblin is super good and super awesome.
Hello, my name is Milk and I'm on team Why People Happy. I ended up picking Becca because she has positive vibes and also because she's actually a tourney smurf after looking at her scores. The opponent I fear the most is probably K3 Soju since he's probably going H anyways. He might play Designated Griefer on his team.
My partner for the tournament is Rule of Zoo and our team name is gonna be Neanderthals. The opponent I'm paying most attention to for this tournament is Melton Hart. His partner is pretty much a bot, but Melton Hart is super good.
I chose Spicy Appies because I think he's a good player and I like to win this thing. And for the second question, if you had to invest in one of your opponents, who would it be? I mean, look, let's put it this way. If you can choose to put your money somewhere, you're going to invest it where you think it's going to give you, the best returns. I'm down for GV8 stock.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Giant Slayer series. We're back, finally. DoA and Frodan here with you. It's been a long time since we've done a Giant Slayer series, hasn't it, Frodan?
That's right. It's been quite some time, and we're back with set 5.5, Dawn of Heroes. And overall, I think it's been a great step up from set 5 Reckoning in terms of all the lessons that we learned. And I'm excited because we got Duos tournament. It's not just your traditional free-for-all battle royale style that people know from TFT tournaments, though. It's going to be a pair 2v2v2v2 tournament. It's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, that's right. Team tournaments have been really fun in the past. We haven't done them on Giant Slayer series before, but it's time for a change. It's time to bring the team vibe to this. And so, why don't we go ahead and take a look at the format, actually, and see how our Giant Slayer series presented by Wisdom is going to break down. As you can see, 32 players, 16 teams, and each day we are going to have half of those teams play in various lobbies. And one interesting thing to keep track of is that the first place player of each game also earns an extra $50 for their team as well. So there's that extra cash per day to kind of play for. And of course, the top 4 scoring teams after 3 weeks of play are going to the finals. And it's really exciting, Frodan, because I feel like this is something we've been missing in TFT, is these long multi-week tournaments, the season-style tournaments. I think it affords players a lot more opportunities to be experimental, try things. We get to see teams play on different patches. I love formats like this.
Yeah, totally. And if you think about what TFT tournaments traditionally take place, it's on one patch.
Yeah.
And some players have a really strong download on a certain patch, and then others, it feels like it deconstructs their play style. So people who are able to divest their abilities across many times different play styles and compositions, people who are experts at the AD tree. What if all of a sudden another patch comes in that nerfs crit chance the same way it did previously? That would definitely hurt a lot of people who are trying to go for that. So it's really interesting to see week after week how players are going to adapt.
Yeah, and here are our teams and our players, like so many big names. We basically had 16 captains. Each captain was able to pick someone to be on their team, and we've got a bunch of really interesting ones, of course, like 8875. We got Soju in there, a well-known meme, but then Prestivent, a player that is making a name for themselves, but maybe isn't quite as well known. So another cool opportunity with this tournament is there's some players out there that have been chosen by these captains that have a lot to prove, really. But what teams stand out to you, Frodan?
Okay, first of all, Prestivent, Twitch Rivals champion, put some respect on that name.
Hey, I told you he was making a name for himself, all right?
I can't help but also notice that there are some unusual pairings, but also pretty hype ones, right? You have the usual suspects, Ramblin' Robin. I think everyone puts them as a front runner. If you're following along with us at fancytft.com, you better buy all the Ramblin' Robin stocks. That's going to be for first place. However, don't get confused. There's a couple competitions that also ask who's going 8th place, so don't buy Ramblin' Robin stocks for that. That is an absolute sell from me. I think there's a couple of underrated teams as well. I wasn't expecting, for example, Team Liquid's Grand Vice 8 to team up with Spicy Appy. Spicy Appy's kind of been on the come up for quite some time.
Yeah.
A pretty underrated streamer, always answers questions, always trying to innovate builds. Love seeing them. And also, Pokygom and Rue Loves You. These are two very solid ladder players. And also, I really love the fact that Rue is a VTuber in the competition. And it's always great to see all kinds of diversity in the TFT community. So those are a couple teams that caught my eye, but we could spend here an entire hour talking about each team here, though. We got to move on.
That's right. Let's take a look at our schedule here for week number 1. You can see today and tomorrow. Today, we'll have the Mega Furts, the Neanderthals, People Riot, Pokygom Fan Club, which does not include Pokygom, we should say, Ramblin' Robin, Rat Owl, Soul Cat for Econ, and Wide Peepo Happy. So, you'll be able to see everyone who's on those teams, but I do think Ramblin' Robin, the team of Ramblin' and Robin songs, to me comes into this as possibly the strongest duo, but it remains to be seen. We got a lot of weeks of play ahead of us, don't we?
Look at Lobby A.
I know, right?
So stacked. Who bounds these lobbies, huh?
Not us.
Did
not
the
our
Reckoning
job.
Bounds team get a job at Giant Slayer?
Apparently.
We have Lobby A with Becca and Delicious Milk. Shout out, of course, to Giant Slayer series. We all love them there. But just look at how crazy 1 to 8 is. It is very difficult to pick a weak player. And I think even the underdogs like Becca and Rue, they've been doing very well on the ladder, especially Becca posted like a 2.6 average in her past 20. That's absolute insanity at Challenger Elo right now. So I'm really excited to see it. And then, of course, Lobby B will be, they get a little bit of a comfy start, but that's actually how you fall into traps. So even though players like Ray, who's been killing it, almost making to the snapshot, getting just barely 3rd, and then Grand Vice, like these are the favorites you would probably pick in Lobby B, but don't sleep on any of these players. The dark horses could really come and surprise any of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's check out what they're playing for over the next 4 weeks. We'll take a look at the prize pool. A $10,000 prize pool. 5K that was contributed by Riot as well. So thanks for Riot to us for stepping in and buffing the prize pool a bit as it were rather. So there's a lot of money in there too. And we've got, again, the $50 per 1 game during pool play as well. So a little bit extra money can be made. But at the bottom of the screen, you can see that stock ticker, Frodan. And there's a lot to talk about with that because Ball Street is obviously kicking in a lot with this too on fantasytft.com. And it's a very interesting website. It's very fun. It's a stock market game around TFT. They've got 2 games going right now. One is to pick who's going to go 8th in our first lobby that we're going to look at. And the other one is to pick who's going to go first. So you can go on the website. You can buy stock of the players you think are going to go well, or it's real time. So during the game, if someone starts to do well, you can quick sell some other stock and pick some up and try to be the highest earner in there. But it's a lot of fun, but it's going to be tough. Are you doing the first place or the 8th place one? Because we're kind of going to be playing this on the side, but which one did you pick?
It's always more fun to pick who is going 8th in the lobby. I live for these competitions.
So true.
I gotta say, and I'm a little bit ashamed to admit this because she's a good friend of mine, but I all-in on Becca when she was at the lowest, only because I saw that she was undervalued, and they were saying like DQA is gonna go 8th first, or Delicious Milk's gonna go 8th first. And while they are capable of doing that, I just felt like I all-in on Becca, and now I'm in first place, or top 2 right now. I think I'm 2nd place currently in that comp.
Hey,
stock skyrocket. So.
The stock is definitely
nothing personal, Becca.
Yeah,
but I gotta go with my heart.
Hey, well, we've also got a couple questions as well to check out on the website. Of course, the first 2 that we're going to talk about is the ones we were just talking about. Who will win Lobby A Game 1 and who will finish 8th in Lobby A Game 1? The thing is, like, Becca, has been having great ladder results, and she's been a very strong player over many sets at this point. But I got to say, I have a lot of Becca shares in the 8th, too. And this is the reason. Because when you see Becca in tournaments, I feel like 90% of the time, it's either like a 1st or an 8th. She's one of the most like up and down players I've seen in tournament play. So, if you pick one of those 2, I think you're 50-50 to be right or wrong,
Yeah, it's difficult,
good
right?
odds.
There's a theoretical like 12.5% chance that any of these players hit 8th. And some people have strategies. They're going to diversify and say, hey, I'm going to pick like a team. Maybe it's like a little bit of DQA, a little bit of Noob. Seen Nubal underperform. But a lot of things can happen, DoA, and I'm really excited to get things started.
That's right. So we're going to check out the opening carousel as we get started in the game. And while we do that, you guys should go to fantasytft.com. Start playing yourself. It's free to play, of course, and you can earn digital tickets that can be exchanged for actual digital gift cards. So you can win some fun stuff there, too. On board with Nubal from Team Rat Owl starting off, and the griefing, the trash talking is already beginning. Can only be other boomers on carousel.
That's right. Rue already says, down to grief milk. I'm not entirely sure what that means. There are some players with some notorious play styles. There are some players in the lobby that are 20 out of 20 who just do not mind spamming the best comp in the game. Many top players believe it is Hellion Tristana reroll. And so if that's something that is up Delicious Milk's alley, a player that is very strong tournament player for that reason. He is unafraid to go 8th by playing the best comp in the game. We might see a little bit of that. Perhaps Rue is hinting towards what she wants to end up competing for, which might be that Hellion star. Do you think it's the strongest comp in the game, DoA?
I think it's hard to argue with the strength of Tristana 3 at this point. I think maybe you could make an argument for some of the Heimerdinger comps to be a little bit stronger in the super late game, but just overall, yeah, it really does feel like the Tristana 3 version of the Hellion reroll seems like the strongest to me. Everybody's going for it right now. It's something you always have to have in the back of your mind when you start up a game of TFT right now. Is like, oh, will I get a chance to play that this game?
Well, it kind of depends, and for example, you do a quick scan around. There's also another really prominent composition that you're going to see early on, which is the Sentinel package featuring Irelia and Olaf +1. Right. I mean, look at Nubal. He has a Kha'Zix 2 in his shop, and he's not even buying it immediately. He just goes and sells at the very last second, recognizing that it combos well with the Riven, and he was starting off instead with a Brand. Brand has recently gotten some interesting build compositions around him where you triple item him instead of using him just as another piece of the Abomination composition. You play like Blue Buff and Morello and Guardian Angel. Personally, I think that comp is hot trash, but some players have some success with it, and maybe it's just a PD, it's a player diff, because I'm not smart enough to play such an enlightened composition.
I mean, that's funny you bring up enlightened compositions. That was a couple sets ago already. You can kind of forget about that.
True.
Point. But the Brand is weird because if you get like the Radiant Hex Tech, he can put out a lot of damage, but also like a ton of healing on your team. So I've seen that comp do wacky things, but I don't know if we're gonna see it today. It's one of those ones where it's like, I feel like for a day people were like, maybe this is good, and then it kind of fell off a little bit already. But one thing's for sure is that normally a Riven is pretty strong in the early game, but that Olaf 2 can be hard to deal with sometimes.
Yeah, the lower health he gets, the faster he attacks, and he gets that lifesteal to be competitive in the final stun from the Riven wins. And all of a sudden, that puts Nubal on a streak, and Milk, despite having an Olaf 2, is not able to get that. And what I love about the current state of the early game here for Nubal is that he's going a little bit off the script. Yes, he did get dropped one of the strongest Stage 2 3-cost champions in Riven and pairing her with the Kha'Zix. But, a lot of people would be thinking about Legionnaires and other things. Yeah. 2 Knights is also a very underrated front line. And this is something that Nubal is so good at doing. He finds a second Riven immediately on 2-2. This is such a powerful start. And an Irelia in the shop. Oh my goodness.
He could make a Ziggs too as well. I mean, if he wants to, he doesn't have the items to really support it, but it's just another one of those generically strong units early on. I don't think you go for it in this case, but it's like an embarrassment of riches for Nubal here as far as early game decision making goes. You're feeling pretty good, though.
Hold all the stuff that he wants to. But I like holding it right now. Going up against DQA, he's already committed to a Last Whisper on the Senna, heavily implying he wants to lean into the Rats based off the Hellions on the bench and also on the board currently. And, the Hellion Tristana composition is really powerful. And I think it's starting to see some innovation as well. People used to think that you want to slow roll all the time, but there's different play styles that are viable, including just leveling the 6 very quickly and starting to incorporate other, forgotten units instead. Like Misfortune version seems to be very strong.
Yeah, I was seeing GV8 actually play that in one of his latter games on stream today, where he kind of leaned in the Misfortune a little bit, and it worked out pretty well. An early Nunu as well. So a lot of fun early stuff for Nubal. Let's check out what Robin Songs is up to here. Robin Songs currently 96 HP, so doing well. in the early game. The only person a little bit low is Pokigam. You might want to start picking up some Pokigam if you're going for the who's going 8th. Although it's too early to tell, but you know, maybe make some market moves.
Yeah, looks like he's going up against Ramblin also with the Last Whisper on Riven. And this is one of the most underrated aspects about set 5.5 is that 3 costs are back. We spend two and a half sets complaining about the viability of 3 costs. We finally get 3 costs and people are just saying how bored they are about everything else.
Oh, come on.
Such is the nature of what TFT is. I'm just talking about the haters. I'm not saying about the people who love the game and play because they're having fun. But the people who say like, oh, I wish 3 costs were coming back. There are so many viable ways that you can carry and item hold and play flex around them. And it makes it very cool.
I really feel
exactly
like
what that is.
I think this is one of the most open metas we've had in a long time. Because you've got your legendary comp. You've got 4 cost carries that are reliable. You've got 3 cost rerolls like you're talking about. You've got 1 cost rerolls. You can even do like reroll Soraka once in a while. Soraka Aurelia you still see from time to time, even though that's fallen off a little bit. But you can really kind of play the game however you want at this point, which is fun. In game sometimes you get a little bit overwhelmed by the options you have, but you can be very flexible right now, which I think is pretty great.
Yep, very much so. Robin with a pretty solid board, also doing some small nuance in positioning. This is something that was brought to the attention through the competitive subreddit for me. I have to actually look it up to see who was the name, but the idea is that Sentinel players have been mispositioning the early game a lot because you want to spread out the damage once the shield breaks. A lot of people end up playing Irelia and Olaf in the front line and Senna in the back line, just, you know, because of range attacks, right? Senna's a ranged unit, utilize that range.
Traditionally what you do.
Actually want the shield to break so it spreads out, and as a result, all the Sentinels just barely stay alive. So I like this line positioning, a good adaptation of it. And it's going up against DQA, who did not level to 5, so Robin should get a pretty easy win here.
Yeah, it should be a pretty convincing win with a good amount of HP damage done to DQA there. But it's interesting. I read that thread too, and it was very eye-opening. But at the same time, this kind of positioning is something you used to see all the time in TFT in the early game. Just lining up along the back lines just because of the way that your tanks will walk forward and your ranged won't. A lot of cases, you'll get into a nice, you know, concave of damage where everyone's kind of focusing on the same opponent in a lot of these cases too. So I like this positioning just in general, but it is great for Sentinels as well. We're going to move on to Rue, see what she is up to. A resident VTuber, like you mentioned. Doing a little bit of scouting here. And, okay, yeah, another strong skirmisher start. Like, early Nidalee is one of the best things you can hit. Runin's great. Obviously, Infinity Edge is going to be a nice amount of damage as well. Pokygam's board. That Lux 2 is scary, Frodan.
Yeah, Pokygam is going to play a Vel'Koz-based composition. It's something, the Redeemed tree in general is something that it seemed like Pokygam was really open to. However, it does have the ability to scale really well into the late game if you're able to find the high end of Heimerdinger and all the Revenants. Pokygam does take the loss, and I think a lot of people would be concerned for Pokygam. But, you know, we'll see how things develop. Redeemed certainly has lost a step or two. And Rue right now, on the other hand, is streaking alongside Robin, you know, with a couple of 3-cost Anthem. Robin clearly setting up for Yasuo, has that Hodge and Sunfire Slam with the Nightbringers, very versatile composition. And Rue instead can play the Dawnbringer Sisters carry, where the Golden Girls come out to play. Riven and Nidalee both are very capable of carrying if she wants to stay on this.
Yeah. It's a composition I've been playing a lot of. I've been playing a lot of Riven carry lately. I wouldn't recommend spamming it, but if you hit, it does end up being very strong. Wow, speaking of strong, there's a Spatula. Spatula is so interesting right now, Frodan, because obviously Hellion Spat is, I think, probably the strongest thing you can make if you're playing Hellions. If not, it does get a little bit tricky as far as like what to use that Spatula on. Cavalier is a pretty popular option, but a lot of times you'll just find yourself, if you're not playing Hellions, waiting and hoping for a Force of Nature, you know?
Totally. It's so strange because this might be the weakest meta we've ever seen the Golden Spatula be. And that's saying a lot because we've had some metas where there's been some useless items, but Spatula's never really been one of them. And in this case, you're right. Like, people usually throw it like an Iron Cavalier Spat. Maybe, you know, maybe they make an Assassin Spat and try to turn like Lee Sin or like Fiddlesticks into Assassin. Very corner case scenario at the moment. So I agree. Holding it on for Force of Nature is probably the preference here, as Rue is trying trying to level to 6, take down Nubal. Nubal's only at 5, so sheer numbers advantage is a big factor here. And Rue continued the win streak, keeping tabs on Robin. Robin has lost her streak, but that's because Becca is making me look like a donkey. She is streaking. Oh no, my Becca stocks. I better sell them while I can. I'll be right back.
I'm selling my Nubal stocks right now, man. I'm not even gonna try to pretend I'm not clicking on my other monitor right now because I'm a little bit worried here. Rue doing very well. I didn't have any Rue stocks, so it's okay. But I'm gonna pick up a couple other shares here real quick, maybe. But meanwhile, we'll take a look at Pokygom. 3 Sentinel, 2 Cannoneer, doing pretty strong. At this point, but or at least a strong looking board. But the items are a little bit wacky, right? Because we've got the double jeweled gauntlet, we've got the tier, but we don't really have a way for Misfortune to cast quickly and consistently. That front line is a little bit weaker than a lot of times you'd want to see with a Misfortune carry. So you can see why Pokygom's been losing a little bit of HP here in the mid game. Yeah, throws the tier on just to get the cast. It is a decent amount of damage, but again, you got the Sentinel shields flying around, and I think Pokygom's going to continue to kind of lose some HP here.
Yeah, this is looking really bad here for Pokygom. He might be the first to cross the stimulus package. And when you have 2 Jewel Gauntlet, this is the exact kind of interaction that's been nerfed repeatedly through, you know, the Jewel Gauntlet and, like, the fact that stacking them with the crit chance is no longer as strong as it used to be.
Right.
But the fact that he lacks a good mana item is what's really hurting at the moment. You know, a lot of times the AP compositions don't even necessarily need a Jewel Gauntlet. I was, you know, kind of going, I was on Soju stream. He was saying, like, a lot of compositions, especially ones that like to reroll Misfortune. That's not the case here. Clearly, Pokygom wants to play, like, Vel'Koz or some other thing. But they overvalue Jewel Gauntlet. Despite it being a solid item, it's not the end-all be-all compared to, say, having mana. And in this case, Pokygom is stuck having to use Senna 2 as an item holder because of how desperate he is to stabilize.
Like, no joke, that probably is more damage. And at least you get crowd control with it, too. So that's not a bad idea. Abomination Spat for Milk already here. That could end up being pretty good as well. A lot of people are sticking on, you can go 2 ways with it, right? You can go all in on Abomination, go 5 Abom, but a lot of people are just going 3 Abom and adding in a lot of other strong stuff on the side. We'll see if Milk is able to do that later on, but always nice to hit that spatula early.
All right, well, Milk does also have a really good setup for Rangers as well. So Rangers a comp that gets kind of a bad rap. Just being unplayable or too weak. A lot of people like making fun of Aphelios. I just think it's situational. Aphelios could definitely get top 2. But we'll cross that bridge if we get to that point. We're hopping on board with Ramblin', from Ramblin' Robin, who seems to be favoring that Riven build, has 2 already of the best items in Runins and Bloodthirster. What else is he really looking for here?
I was selling my stocks.
Just another Riven.
I zoned out a little
You're
bit.
selling your stocks.
I was selling.
DoA managing
I was selling my
his
Becca
portfolio.
stocks. I'll admit it.
Fair enough.
I know, Ramblin', I mean, you know, if you look at the board, obviously something like a Warmogs is always going to be a useful item. I didn't see what item he particularly picked up. Okay, so yeah, Sunfire. Not a bad thing as well. It's a lot of times in the past, people would say Sunfire is only a useful early game item. I feel like that's changed. I think you can get a lot of value out of Sunfire all game long because there are just mega tanks now that just don't die. So you get just so many applications of it, right? So if he decides to slam it, I think that's fine. I think 2 rounds away from Wolves, you don't need to slam it at all right now. You can wait, but got a good item to make if he needs to.
Yeah, the most important thing is that Radiant items come at 3/6 now.
Yeah.
And if he gets an Eclipse Cape, which is the Radiant version of the Sunfire, many people consider that to be the best overall item in the game, period. It's not always the case. You know, some people say, well, you know, the Rascal's gloves can get Eclipse Cape +1. It's like, okay, yeah, sure.
It can.
But, you know,
yeah.
I like holding here in case Rambling gets it. So I'm very curious about this offering. And this Radiant item is so crucial for people at the bottom to stabilize or for people like Becca to cement their lead. So let's see what Rambling's offered.
Okay. Interesting stuff. I feel like the Banshee's Claw is always just a good default. I don't really have a major use for anything else option. Yeah, and you can see him kind of hovering over that. I think that's probably a good choice in this particular case. You've already got 3 items on your Riven. That's going to be your primary carry for the game. Slams the Sunfire, so yeah, I think that's fine. And yeah, I like putting this on the Gragas and not on one of the Abominations, because it doesn't really help you out if that goes to the Monstrosity. So yeah, a little bit scuffed as far as the Radiant offerings, I think there, but I think you're always going to be at least pretty happy with that Trap Clause as just like a good solid option for whatever comp you're playing.
Totally. A spell shield is super valuable with all the prevalent amount of CC effects. Becca does have the Hex Tech or Lifeblade, and with that has pretty close to BIS Yasuo. I guess having the Hex Tech as well as the Hand of Justice is somewhat redundant. People would prefer Runaan's Hurricane just to basically double the DPS of Yasuo for getting that extra bolt. But Becca's in a really good position. The question is, I believe another player, Robin, also want to go for Yasuo. Both players can definitely hit the top 4 of it.
Ooh.
We do see the Radiant Blessing.
Hey.
It's a spatula, and his ability to make a Hellion Spout and Misfortune one of the best item holders. I mean, DQA was the first to get the Stimmy. That's what we call the Stimulus Package, aka the Radiant Blessing when you cross the 40-yard line. But, you know, he's still very far away from being able to stabilize his board. He might be able to hit Tristana 3, but everything else is like 1-star.
Yeah. Now, if I remember right, it was Rue that had the spatula just sitting on her bench. So once she hits that, if she's paying attention, she knows that maybe she can hold out for a force of nature at a perfect moment, really. So that could be big too.
Oh, some big hits. 2-starring your front line is really crucial. And the unsung hero of this composition is also Kennen. I think a lot of people tunnel way too much on what Tristana is doing, what is the item she has, where is she positioning. But the Kennen positioning as we enter stage 4 is going to be paramount here for DQA in terms of how he's going to be able to get his edge. Kennen, in the words of Mismatch Socks, might be the most intricately designed positioning unit in TFT history. And how his impact is with the Morellas, he stuns the entire line from Rue, is going to be important. DQA at 32 HP can't really afford to take too many losses. And this is a very intimidating ribbon with the Runaan's Hurricane and the Assassin Spat and the Infidia just barely surviving. A very important showdown here. And the Nidalee 2 is not backing down whatsoever. Going to clean it up. DQA takes another loss. Can't take too much more of those. Otherwise, top 4 might just barely be out of his grasp.
Yeah, I feel like we're going to see a DQA stock on Going 8th going up pretty fast here on the website. But we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, Kennen positioning is a very tricky thing. It's something that I've been trying to understand all set long, and I still don't feel like I grasp it fully. I'm not surprised to hear Sox saying that. Vel'Koz 2 for Pokygam. Okay, that's a nice hit. So I believe he had pretty good items for Vel'Koz, if I remember right.
Yes, he had the 2 Jewel Gauntlets. If he was able to
That's
find
what
a
it was,
Shojin, that was going to be really huge. And ultimately, Vel'Koz just wants to go burr, like just put any mana item or any AP item on him, and then just give him some mana or like a Shojin, and he'll be cooking with the Invokers. DQA makes the blue buff on Kennen. The faster Kennen cast, the better. And I like this stance here. Going up against Delicious Milk, who also, you mentioned the A-Bomb spat, just kind of chilling and preparing the Ranger transition that we called out. Has Aphelios and Nightbringers on the bench, but still has some Draconic and Legionnaires. He's very open.
Oh, no.
And I love it when Milk's able to show us a way to play a comp that people aren't really that into at the moment. Does end up taking a loss, but he also is hoarding a ton of gold. Looks like Milk wants to go for a fast 8.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you're right. He's got a lot of components for a very strong late game, so paying a little bit of HP to get your economy up right now, nothing wrong at all with that. Galio 2 hit by Nubal as well, so Nubal getting some pretty big upgrades. A lot of upgrades coming across the board, but DQA doing a little bit of a roll down. We'll see what he can find. Looking to upgrade that Tristana. There's a Tristana 3. That's a huge hit. And this is that situation where people might be dumping that stock right now because a Tristana 3 can mean a massive turnaround. But let's check out Becca's board right now as she does a little bit of scouting. We'll see what she's got going on. For Nightbringer, we saw earlier she was going for the Yasuo, but not anywhere close to a Yasuo 3. So it might just be like a quicker level 8. No reroll this time and just trying to add on some strong secondary carries later.
It's like a game of chicken, right? Because if both Robin and Becca roll, they grieve each other. It becomes that much more difficult for a player to hit Yasuo. Instead, maybe you just level to 8 instead and just try to play tempo and play for like a top 4. Remember, this is a team tournament. It's not just about your individual placings. It's really about how you do as a pair. So if you both aim for top 4, theoretically, that should get you into a really good spot to maybe even just win the day's worth of competition points.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely on the mind of Becca. And yes, even though she's contested, Robin's ahead in HP as well as what looks like to be board strength, she's still in a good spot to land in that top 4 or even take 5th, which isn't that bad in this format.
No, not bad at all. Gonna be looking around the board now to see if there's anything she needs to grief from one of the other teammates. No doubt talking to Milk at the same time to try to coordinate their carousel. What's it gonna be? Undecided. I don't know if she has any free components. Oh, misses the tier, but alright, 4 gold in a chain vest, not bad. I guess that does. Well, you don't need another Sunfire cape. That's for sure. But maybe something will drop off Raptors.
Yeah, and I think one thing just in general is that she has 5 offensive items and only 1 defensive item, so that makes more sense. Here comes the roll down the fast A from Milk, looking to see if he can make some transition. He does hit the Jax too. Jax is reasonable as a secondary form of damage in this composition because you play Lee Sin, so you just need to have 1 more skirmisher. This is very complicated, and Milk getting a little slow, just kind of figuring out what he wants to actually do with everything. A-Bomb spat out the Jax.
What?
Rascal's Glove's gonna go on.
That's interesting.
We're not exactly sure. No kind of chuckle and recognize that this was definitely a little bit of a bubble.
Yeah.
But the good news is that his Aphelios is cooking. Look at those items: Deathblade Rudens and Rageblade, the classic item for Moonman.
Uh-oh.
No ability to survive a big burst from Pokygom, who is stable. Delicious Milk free falling, but he still has a lot of gold to work with, about 40 to 50 gold if you combine his bench and his board strength at the moment. We'll see whether or not he can stabilize here.
Yeah, we'll see. I was wondering if maybe he wanted to swap to some sort of like, you know, Jax carry if you can find a couple other items, because you've got Ironclad 3 in there. If you find a couple Knights, you're in good shape. He's like, oh, do I really want the Rel 3? Probably not that much. Need the gold for rolling elsewhere. There's another Abomination.
Oh.
He's got that back. Wow, another Aphelios. There's the Aphelios too. That's big.
And Akshan. That's so big because one thing he's lacking in his composition, in every Ranger composition in set 5, everyone has unanimously said you want a Last Whisper if you play an 80 comp, especially for Ranger-based compositions. Akshan has it built into his kit. Yep. And with that being said, Ophelia should be able to shred everything down. Is this enough to stabilize? New Battle does have a very strong Lucian using the Jewel Gauntlet in order to power up his ability, targeting the Aphelios in the back with no Bloodthirst and able to
Oh, huge!
Diana gets the Moonfall, and now it comes down to whether or not there's enough remaining DPS. It's actually quite close. It comes down to just the last few units.
That's a very tanky Galio.
Not able to stabilize.
Yeah, Milk is definitely taking some hits here. He may actually be the person to go out in 8th. We will see. It's a very interesting comp. You don't often see Rangers tied with Abominations that often. But I like the move, too, to use the item remover to get the Radiant Thieves Gloves over onto the Jax. I think that's going to make him a better carry. But it might be too little too late, Frodan. Let's take a look at what Robin Songs is up to right now. Now, he's got the Radiant Redemption. I feel like that is an item that a lot of people were underestimating for a long time at the beginning of 5.5, but is starting to rise in its own stock very rapidly right now, especially in like A-Bomb comps, but just in general, I think it's one of the best Radiant items out there at the moment.
Yeah, you know, I think that the secondary benefit a lot of the Radiant items as we take a look at the Radiant just finds a bunch of more AP items. Archangel Staff's actually low-key very solid on Yasuo if he desires to go for it as he continues to roll down. But secondary benefits, as we're talking about, is also something very good on Radiant items that people should consider, and it's great that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Does end up playing the Rel. 5 Nightbringers currently, a little bit awkward, wants to get the 6th in, finally able to put that Vlad in right now. Is there any way you can find these upgrades? We're looking for something. Keeps finding just another Yasuo. 8 Yasuo is where we're at currently. Just barely off. If Becca was not stealing those Yasuos, it almost feels like he would certainly hit. And he is going up against DQA, who does feel stable at 27 life. DQA found the bottom temporarily. But going up against a Yasuo player who hasn't hit has to feel very good for his chances at the moment. This is the weakest Robin will be on stage 5, it feels like, just based off looking at his bench state. And yet, despite that, is Yasuo going to be able to kill this Tristana 3?
Oh, it was so close. I thought maybe with the Tristana jumping in, he was going to be able to do it, but no, not quite. It's so hard to kill that Tristana in a lot of cases. Like we talked about before the game, Frodan, like a lot of people saying that's arguably the best comp out there right now to play. And you can see why, for sure. But maybe if he finds this Yasuo 3, there it is. Massive.
That's huge. Also finds that Viego chooses to go down from 6 Nightbringer to 4. I agree with that. I think the 6 Nightbringer is usually what you look for only if you get the spatula, just because of Vlad and how empty of a unit he feels in this comp in particular. And with Viego, I mean, we all know what Viego can do. Just automatically magnetize himself to the closest carry of your opponent and absolutely devastate the opponent. Going up against Nubao, who looks also stable. We weren't entirely sure about the state of Nubao. You mentioned the 3-item Galio tanking what seems like infinite damage, but all of a sudden, the Lucian getting pulled in, the Yasuo was able to chop him down, and there's no more DPS outside of the Akshan. Oh wait, the stun from Senna though? Is that enough to be able to turn this fight around? It
not
does not
quite.
look like that's the case.
No. It did look scary for a moment, though. I mean, that is the one thing that a lot of these melee carries are vulnerable, right? Is crowd control. If you crowd control them, they aren't going to do any damage. So you can have the strongest unit in the world with best in slot items, and if it's stunned, it's not going to do anything for you. So definitely got, yeah, I don't want to say lucky, but, you know, definitely a fortunate round for him there to be able to do that. But will he be able to claim first for his team? I mean, this would be pretty crazy if both Robin Songs and Ramblin got first and second. Like, that's the best result you can get for a team. So to start off the tournament like that would be quite a statement.
Yep, and they're also the most hyped up. I mean, these are two players who are perennial top 5 ladder place holders. It's kind of an OP stack team, if you ask me. The only thing that needs a harder nerf more than Tristana right now might be Ramblin' Robin. Going up against Becca, who does not have anywhere close to the Yasuo 3s, holding 5 Yasuos by my count.
Yep.
Absolutely destroyed. The caveat is that Becca has a pretty reasonable Lee Sin with the Assassin spat, but that's just a little placeholder. And Becca free-falling a little bit. Right now, the race for 8th place is quite contested. You know, Becca, Milk tied at 18. They are a match made in heaven there. Pokigam at 12 HP, Nubel at 20. It is open season for who's going to finish 8th. Everyone who is buying Milk stocks right now because he went to the moon might have to sell and reevaluate. It is anybody's game.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually getting to be one of the closer games I've seen in a while. We've got 6 out of the 8 players in the lobby in the 20s or lower, so it could be very volatile. You could see one of those games where like 4 people drop at the same time, you know? But on board with Ramblin' at the moment, we've seen him kind of chilling with the Riven 3 right now, gets the stimmy, and you can see it's got that spatula, but unfortunately for him, it's not going to be... Oh, no, it was! Whoa, I didn't see he had a belt! That's huge! Wow. 6 Dawnbringer for Ramblin' just like that! Wow, that
is so smart. Ramblin' paying attention, seeing that this
spatula
8 will drop. Yeah, he knows that the spatula is going to drop, so he's capitalizing off that knowledge. Great adaptation based off the information that's presented in the lobby. Switches at the last second. This is a very, very strong Dawnbringer board. I actually haven't seen 8 Dawnbringer in quite some time, only once this set, and it ended up going for a bottom 4, so I'm curious to see if this can go beyond. Lucian trying to work onto the Riven. Riven's to the back line. Trying to get stunned to Lucian. Lucian not able to hold on to the Riven 3, going for the crits, and Nubao takes big critical damage from the 8 Dawnbringer board from Ramblin'.
Yeah, that was close because he also got shrouded at the beginning of that fight as well. So his Riven took a long time to get started. But I think that just speaks to the strength of this 8 Dawnbringer board now with the Riven 3, that even though the shroud came through and hit a lot of good stuff, he was still able to win the round. So Ramblin' suddenly definitely in the conversation for going first in this lobby. We'll see.
Meanwhile, 4th all the way down to 8th is separated just by 8 HP. All of them can die. The only people who are safe, DQA, who did hit that Tristana, Ramblin', and Robin. These are the 3 players who are guaranteed tickets to stage 6. So who's going to be joining them into the top 4? We might realistically have a chance to see half the lobby eliminated depending on matchmaking.
Yep.
And it's going to be DQA versus Ramblin' Robin, which means that both these players are going to be safe. But a good job stabilizing a 3-star Misfortune with the Hellion Spat as well, by the way.
I mean, if anything can take out this board, it's going to be the 8 Dawnbringer, because you can survive all the damage. You can have everybody gang up on the Tristana, and that's exactly what's happening. No rune-ins, and so there you go. Just enough healing, and then enough one-shotting because of all the damage that comes through when the healing occurs to actually beat DQA. And we do have 3 people drop off. Pokigam, Nubal, and Rue out in 8th in the end. Rue stock skyrocketing, but I don't know. Is it too late? She's already out, but we'll see. I don't know the particulars of that one. Let's concentrate on the people who are going to win the lobby, though, potentially, though. DQA on board with him. Needs to find a way to make this even stronger. The 3-star Misfortune Hellion is great, but how do you take this to the next level, Frodan? I guess you get the Thresh 3. That's a start, right?
Yeah, you know, in the end, she still is a cannoneer, and you could just place these attack damage items onto the Misfortune just for additional DPS. Finds a Thresh 3 as well.
Wow.
I mean, pretty much just missing Lulu, and surprisingly, the Kennen. We mentioned again, Kennen is a very important unit in this composition in particular. And DQA with Lulu 3 and a Kennen 3, but there's also a Rakan 3. Everybody hitting their 3 stars. Robin has yet to really finish another meaningful unit, and it does look like Becca and Milk are kind of contesting each other for 4th place, but they're on a team together, so we'll see. Robin has a bunch of life to work with, though. 67 HP, no goals, so it doesn't look like he's going to 9 yet, and we'll see whether or not he can hold off against the Rat Army.
Ooh, the Shroud hit people, but it didn't hit the Yasuo. Now, can the Aurelia stand strong? Not quite. And yeah, Rat Owl, by virtue of DQA, still has a good chance to come away with a lot of points here in game number 1. Obviously, Newball down in 7th, so he's not going to be helping out too much. But maybe DQA with the first computer. There's the Lulu 3. All right. All right. This board is starting to look unbeatable at this point. The CC from a Lulu 3 is just insane.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Riot team was like, what if we made set 3 Galaxies Lulu, which was a legendary, into a 3 cost? They said, well, maybe we should, you know, gatekeep her power based off of making her a 3-star unit. Then she kind of acts like the 2-star Lulu from set 3. Now, DQA has it. And so we'll see whether or not this is going to be enough to swing him back into top 2 contention, because right now Ramblin' Robin's running away with it. Milk, who's done such a great job stabilizing to this point, who earned himself a top 4, might have just taken his last breath. Tristana immediately deletes the Nephilios in the back, and now Misfortune's chopping out the front line. This is way too much DPS for Milk to handle, it looks like. Made it a little bit closer than I thought it was going to be, but Milk is going to tap out here in 4th place.
Yeah, it was a good board, obviously. I mean, with like Cavalier Abomination, that's going to be really strong. It's good enough to get him 4th. So 4th and 5th for Milk and Becca this game. So a very middling result, but not bad for the first game of the day. Again, you've got like 3 weeks of group play, so one game isn't going to be massively impactful. But let's check out Robin's songs. The question is, through the end of this game, is it going to be him and his teammate Ramblin' that take 1st and 2nd? DQA seems to be the biggest threat, but with some clever positioning, maybe Robin's songs can turn that around.
I like this. I like this. So this is a nod to the fact that Tristana jumps at the back, and he wants to put his Yasuo in the front, make it a little bit trickier. So the unit that Tristana is likely to attack might end up being Nautilus, for example, and that's exactly what happens. And Irelia does end up turning around and maybe take a little bit more damage. Robin checking to see how Ram is going against DQA. This also has pretty big implications. He's able to defeat DQA, which he does. He takes damage, and the 1-2 placing for Ramblin' Robin is coming very close to fruition here, DoA.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. I think it's all on Robin songs to survive and not take 3rd, right? Because it seems like this 8 Dawnbringer board from Ramblin' is enough to be able to handle all of the damage and craziness of the Hellions. So Robin songs is like, all right, how can I make sure that whatever round I'm in next, I can like out-survive DQA? Gotta find a way to beat him. Yeah.
It's 50-50 at this point. A Shojin on Diana just to cast a little bit sooner. The difference between Diana casting and not casting is a world of difference. I argue it's like a placement and a half because of how big of impact it is.
True.
We'll see whether or not Robin's able to stabilize his board further. Doesn't seem like he's really rolling for anything here.
Viego 2 would be the main thing that he'd be looking for here. Yeah. But you're right, and you kind of wonder a little bit too. We talked about Kennen positioning earlier. Having everything in a line like that does set it up for Kennen to hit a lot of people, but he's going to play against his teammate Ramblin'. And who is the ghost? DQA? I forgot. I didn't quite see who he's playing against. Okay, it looks like he's playing against Robin's ghost here. DQA.
Yeah, it's a tough spot here. He actually might die just because Ramblin' is ungodly powerful.
Oh my gosh, is that enough damage? It is!
And he does!
Oh, so close. I mean, hey, 1st and 3rd for Ramblin' Robin is still an amazing result. But 1st and 2nd obviously would have been the cherry on top, right?
Yeah, very much so. And Robin, you know, he did a great job. He was a contested Yasuo player, landing top 3. I definitely can relate to those where it feels like, how is this a third? And I look at the other boards and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. You don't really see these kinds of boards all the time. Also, low-key, these Thieves' Clothes items are just insane on Garen. And yet, what Ramblin is thinking about is purely, how can I trap this Tristana? I love watching the way Ramblin tries to go for late game positioning, but he does walk into a Shroud.
I mean, it's hard to avoid that Radiant Shroud at the late game, right? Oh no, and the Zephyr hits the Thresh. Okay, so that's good. And I think you're just okay with getting shrouded. Like, what else can you do here? The Hellions are doing a lot of damage. You can see DQA stacked up to try to give his Hellions as much survivability as possible, but it doesn't look like it's going to be enough unless Tristana can come through. Everyone's just chilling out. That last minute stun, was it enough? Riven trying to get to the Tristana, and it is enough. It is going to be a win for the Dawnbringers. And Ramblin' Robin will take first and third. Great start to the tournament for them.
What an unusual win in the first lobby. People talk about vertical synergy. Specifically, there's just some lamenting about how powerful certain comps used to be in Set 5 Reckoning.
Right.
And then come Dawn of Heroes. It's called Dawn of Heroes. And Dawnbringers are pretty bad in terms of the verticals. But if you're able to get to 8 Dawnbringers, and Riven 3 with really good setup like that,
yeah,
I mean, you can make a lot of things work when you get 2 spatula items.
Yeah, and I mean, I like that. I think that's a good position for those really kind of stretch traits to be in, right? Where if you can get 8 Dawnbringers, it's obscenely strong, right? But you're going to see very few games where people actually get to that. So I think that was a good, appropriate thing. And it's nice. I think everyone who's been on the ladder for the last week or so is just happy to see a Tristana 3 board lose. I think that's going to bring joy to a lot of people out there. It certainly brings joy to me, Frodan. I've played it. I admit it. But at the same time, it's nice to see it lose every once in a while. You know what was interesting to me in that lobby, though, is I don't think we had a single Heimerdinger player, did we?
I don't think so, but I can go ahead and check
the
match history of that. And it is a little bit unusual because I believe we had 2 Yasuo players, one barely missing the top 4 in Becca. And again, shout out to Milk and Becca for being able to survive the purge, right? 3 players dying. Their team was able to average that 4.5, really big for them when it looked like they could have gone easily 7th and 8th and held hands there. And then on the other side, Pokigam and Rue, that was a brutal first lobby for them, getting 6th and 8th.
Yep. And I mean, when you've got so many games to look ahead to, you know, 4 games per day for each of these teams, 3 weeks of group play, like a finish that Becca and Milk had, 4th and 5th, is perfectly fine. You keep consistent with those, you get a couple better ones, and you're in great shape to make the finals. But let's take a look at some of the final teams, or not the comps, the final players to make it through, obviously. Ramblin' Robin took first in Group A that we just watched. They earn an extra $50 for their team, and man, a spot of first and third, that is a lot of points for them to start off with.
Yep, very much so. And we mentioned that you get that extra $50, so nice job for Ramblin'. We already have known for quite some time that Ramblin' is a tournament monster, that he is very consistent. But one thing that's been also a theme across all that consistency is that Ramblin' barely misses out for the big ticket. He's always like 5th if we take top 4. He's 3rd if we take top 2. So, you know, this could be a redemption arc here for Ramblin', just to kind of put his fingerprint onto the North American scene, because people regularly forget him when they're putting the tier list together.
Yeah, and here's our results for Lobby B as well. So just trying to match up players with their teams here. The Jirachi and Buzzy Boo having a great result in Lobby B. It's 2nd and 3rd for Team Megafurits. That is a pretty insane result.
Yeah, that's right. And on the other side, you see Ray and Spicy Appies at bottom 2. So despite some pretty reasonable results from, you know, GV8, Spicy Appies is a person that's going to have to pick it up a little bit just to make sure that you can't rattle off those 8s. And it's just the first game of the tournament. Somebody's got to go 8th place. And we got a lot more TFT to play.
Yep, so as you can see, it was the Pokigam fan club in Lobby B that ended up the highest in points overall. Melton Hart and Bryce 2. And so $50 for them. And yeah, not bad overall.
Yeah, that's right. And it might be confusing. You're saying, why is it third current placement? That's a team ranking, not necessarily where they sit, because no one will perform better than Ramblin' Robin. They got first and second. Shout out to the Megafurts as well. Megafurts, of course, is the Buzzy Boo Jirachi team. As DoA was mentioning, they had a great round number 1. On the other side, the teams that you see, I know a lot of people are like, where is Kurum, where's Soju, where's Aegon, Goobums, all of them. They're playing tomorrow. They're going to be playing in a different set of lobbies on Tuesday on August 10th, which will also be casted by Esports Law, and that's Admiral, which should be really fun.
Yep, that'll be a ton of fun to just get to kick back and relax and watch some TFT for once. You know, a lot of times at these events, you know, you or I are usually casting one of them, so it's fun to cast. We live for that, right? But it's also nice to just kind of like sit back and watch as a fan once in a while too. So that'll be fun tomorrow to check out those matches. Don't get worried if you don't see your favorite player today. They'll be playing tomorrow. But Frodan, I feel like, you know, you and I were talking a lot about just like games earlier today, and I've personally been struggling on the ladders. So today is like a big learning day for me. I'm gonna be like studying extra hard to try to take like some of what I see to some of my ladder games, because I need it. I'm like hard stuck D3 right now. But like what would you say? I'm curious, what would you say is the greatest lesson that you took away from game number 1?
I was very impressed by the way Milk navigated his spot. I think Rangers in particular have the highest risk and reward ratio, but it's not necessarily balanced on the risk reward, right? That you would assume that it's like 50% risk for 50% reward. It's a lot more risk than you're taking for like the reward that you get. But that being said, you know, it's one of the highest compositions still. It's actually one of the few compositions that can go toe to toe with an AP heavy scale with Heimerdinger, because Akshan can get to the back line and sometimes just straight up assassinate the Heimerdinger and the Teemo. So, you know, I really like the way he navigated that A-bomb flex into that Rangers composition. Really well done. It almost could have blew up in his face and went to a bottom 4. We saw him kind of get dizzy in the transition and kind of chuckling to himself. But hey, it happens even to the best of the best. And that's what we have here in North America. We have the best players who have been here since set 1. We have some of the players who have been, you know, the great players that transition to streamers, and we have some upcoming hungry tournament players that we have been grinding set 4 and 5 more recently. So, you know, I love the representation that we have in terms of, you know, who's playing in this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the last couple sets especially have been sort of a changing of the guard of, you know, the old standby players, and then a lot of new people coming up and making names for themselves. And we're starting to see a lot of those names start to solidify, right? Players like Jirachi, of course, come to mind as a player that, you know, a few sets ago, hardly anyone would have heard of. And now, you know, pretty much anyone who pays attention to the competitive scene knows who they are. So it's great to see a new generation of players come up. Fun to see what they can do with the game. And this tournament, again, like over a number of weeks, I love it, is going to show us a lot about a lot of the best players out there right now. And speaking of Jirachi, we're on their POV starting off with Game 2. So we're going to jump to Lobby B, Frodan, and check out what the other players that we didn't see in the last game are up to.
That's right. We're hopping on board with Jirachi, one of our recent podcast guests on Teamfight Talk Show. They are awesome. I got a chance to cast with them also for the Snapshot finale, where Jirachi, Ramkev, Esports Law, and I kind of sat in a call with Mortdog, evaluating what's going on the ladder. Just being able to dive into the mindset. I just really like the approach that Jirachi has. Very balanced, understands what they need to do on any given moment. That is what they pride themselves in. Riley says, you know, they are a tournament player that is capable of spiking on ladder, but they put a lot of effort into tournament prep. So I'm looking forward to see what they got.
Yep, that's right. Certainly one of the most thoughtful players I think out there right now. Starting off with a Ziggs with a tier, which is, it's nice when you get a unit that you can just, you know, not have to sell right away and just leave the item on and try to make it part of your early game. Obviously, you're not worried about selling it if you need to, but if you don't, hey, that's just, you know, one more gold you can save. And okay, so another brawler. We got a ranger there, and we have an option for the Hecarim. So yeah, picking up the Vayne, just to possibly is forgotten as an early trait, but we'll see. Still very open is the Jirachi.
Yeah, so tier start in general is seeing a little bit of a surgence. I think a lot of people were hyper focused on the attack damage tree at the beginning of set 5.5, and for good reason. We talked about people begging for 3 costs being viable. We got them. Another thing being viable is 4 cost damage carries, especially the ranged ones. And so a lot of people were prioritizing bow or sword, or like, maybe belt or vest, so you can get like that early Sunfire cape, which is very powerful. But people kind of ignored the AP tree, even going as far as to say that Rod and AP might be one of the weakest starts in the game. And you can see it too. Jirachi is saying, you know what, my start sucks. I'm just gonna go full open fort. And if I'm going to go on a bold call, I think Jirachi might immediately be thinking of some kind of reroll composition to bring them back in, like Misfortune. That was Jirachi's claim to fame for 5.5, where they were able to get, I think, even as far as #1 on the North American server with Misfortune Cav reroll prior to the nerfs. And I like this little mix-up, showing a stronger board than what they have currently, selling so they can completely open forward, and Buzzy Boo just got bamboozled.
I mean, you know what I'm seeing, and actually this is okay, because Buzzy Boo is Jirachi's teammate, so, one of them's going to have to lose, so at least, Buzzy Boo stays healthy. Buzzy Boo I'm excited to see him play a little bit, because he made it all the way to the final lobby of the mid-set finale a few weeks ago, so definitely a player to keep your eye on. But talking about Jirachi's options here, like, I'm thinking Draconic, man. I mean, 2 out of 3 so far, you've gone open fort. This is just kind of, to me, it kind of screams like I would love to go Draconic, but we'll see.
Belt,
Giant spell,
is the most generic here.
So in this kind of position specifically, I like the Abomination because you're able to utilize all of these components. This actually might be an angle for Jirachi to even consider the brand reroll, because blue buff and Morello is very much available as long as Jirachi finds a brand and a single rod, which is very easy because I'm pretty sure Jirachi is going to be in the first wave of picks. They are completely unafraid to lose every single fight 4-0, 5-0 and start the game at 60 HP. But we'll see just how far Jirachi will take this at this point.
This has been a style of play that ever since lost streaking was discovered as like a thing to do in TFT, I have been terrified of doing it because it's such a tightrope walk in a lot of cases. You have to really know your moment to stop paying HP for gold and to start investing in a stronger board. And the players that can do that well, and we've seen some fantastic players at doing it. Aegon comes to mind as a player, one of the best at managing open fort loss streaks out there. But if you can do it well, you can come back, you can win a lot of games with it. But it's always scared me, man. I know how to do it. I don't like doing it.
It's not for the faint of heart, that's for sure. Jirachi also just skipping everything in the shop, implying that there's really nothing on their mind outside of this Draconic A-bomb start. But the problem is not finding that Draconic to start things off. Meanwhile, we're going to hop on board with one of NA's finest, just historically great, if you just take the young history of TFT and kind of compare set-to-set performance. Grand Vice 8 is one of the most accomplished ladder players. Pretty reasonable tournament results, but he does kind of lack, the decoration of, say, Mismatch Socks, for example. So I think a lot of people would put Socks as the best tournament player from North America, but GVA certainly is up there.
Yeah, I mean, GVA was a player that placed really well and even won some tournaments earlier on in TFT's lifetime. Like the first tournament you and I ever casted, in fact, he won back in set 2, way back when. So certainly a player with some accolades, but yeah, like you said, in the modern area of TFT, not as much. But maybe that'll all change over the next few weeks here. He's got a lot of good options. You've got a Yasuo on the bench, you've got a Riven on the bench, you've got a good amount of Sentinels, you've got pairs, and GV8 is one of the most flexible players in TFT, and he's one of the best. He's my favorite stream to watch, and he's one of the best players at just finding the smallest of avenues to put together a comp that will get a top 4, even if he's kind of struggling a little bit. So I love watching this guy play.
Yep, and right now GVA is very open. He gets last pick, so he can choose whatever he wants. Interesting enough, Spicy Appy goes for the Spatula, which makes me think Spicy Appy's is playing a Hellion composition. Also something that Appies has played a lot of in previous patches before the Tristana reroll was a thing. So we shall see if that is the case. Ends up finding another brand. Don't think GV is going to keep this. He's super open to playing anything he wants, but with the Death Cap Slam, almost seems like he's just going to ride this A-Bomb Yasuo for quite some time. Death Cap is actually surprisingly not that bad of an item. For some reason, people have this notion that Jewel Gauntlet is the AP item that you want, but it's actually quite comparable. I think the math, again, I need to be correct on the exact numbers here, but I think the number is very small single-digit percent, like 3 or 4% difference in damage between Death Cap as well as the Jewel Gauntlet. So, don't be afraid. Put the hat on and go to town. Just start chopping away this big tub of Dawn.
Put on your robe and wizard hat. GVA is unafraid. But like he's one of those players too that will slam items faster than like nearly anybody else out there. But with a hero like or a champion like Yasuo on the board, it's a lot easier to do that because he can use so many different items so effectively. Not surprising to see that. Does take a loss there to Spicy Appies, his teammate. But hey, somebody had to lose in that scenario.
Somebody had to lose. GV was on the streak. Spicy Appies also has a Hodge and a Rod slammed onto the carry as well with a spatula. So not going for the Hellions because we didn't get a chance to catch up with Spicy Appies. Instead, looks like keeping the spatula open, potentially to even go for the Dawnbringer vertical. We're hopping on board with Raditz, whose most recent charge Insurgents was fueled by his attempt to land a last chance spot in North America Regionals for the upcoming Set 5.5 regional finals in September. We took the top 2 snapshots. It was Graham Cab guaranteed, and it was either K3 Soju, who'll be playing tomorrow, or Raditz. And Raditz barely at 11 p.m. had to tap out because he was just like 100 LP behind, but he was so close because he took that 8th. It was a very difficult journey. But Ray's one of the most fun streamers to follow, very lighthearted, good vibes all around. And I think a lot of people are cheering for him to see if he can put the tournament results to where his ladder finishes have been made.
Raditz's teammate for this event, Broccoli, is really interesting as well. Broccoli is another player that's kind of been coming up in the TFT scene in North America. He was able to take 5th overall at the mid-set finale, so really good results in the most recent big TFT tournament. And probably a strong addition to this team, too. So props to Raditz for kind of seeking out some of the newer upcoming talent for his teammate for this event.
That's right. Does have a Deathblade onto the Nidalee. Nidalee can hold and be more of an AD carry. Personally, I have really started transitioning my evaluation of Nidalee to be a very strong bruiser with a lot of utility on her. I really like Frozen Heart. I've even put Sunfire on her at times because she just hops around at times.
She jumps in the back,
Yeah, and she dodges all the time, so she stays alive for quite a long time in the fights. So I personally like that a lot, but she's very much can be an attack damage carry. You can even put attack speed on her. I've seen packages like Quinsu's Rage Blade as well as a Static Shiv do some crazy amount of DPS. So Nidalee, one of the coolest, most flexible carries ever since they changed her to be an attack speed damage carry.
Yep, the Ginsu's build is one of the ones people were experimenting a lot with after the change came through. I have to back up a little bit and say it was actually Broccoli who picked up Raditz for his team. Of course, Broccoli getting to be the captain by virtue of his finish in the mid-set finale. So I'll change it around and say props to Broccoli for recognizing the stabilizing veteran presence that Raditz brings to his team. See, we can say it that way too. That works as well. Oh, speaking of Broccoli though. Hard to see. There we go. Okay, we're back.
Using window capture and alt-tabbed, and therefore the OBS or whatever streaming software Broccoli was using ended up black screening us temporarily. That's right. We're on their feeds. Every player, I believe, is streaming on Twitch. You can hop on board if you want to watch their POV. Taking a little inventory at the beginning of Stage 3, we do have Jirachi starting the game at 46 life. If Jirachi's not able to stabilize on this 3-2 roll down, Broccoli is doing the same thing. We might see some quick exits here of who's going 8th in game number 2. Does end up finding the Abomination. Broccoli going to start transitioning towards that, but he is far from stable. I'm just looking at the quality of his units. That Lucian is a good pickup, but he just found his second 2-star unit, and it's one of the least impactful ones. So Broccoli did not find enough, in my opinion, to stop this losing streak.
Yeah, I think just a Sunfire cape isn't going to do you a whole lot of favors. He actually ends up selling the Lucian for money. Yeah, puts a tier onto the Zyra there, but yeah, we'll see. It goes up against the other bomb Draconic attempting player right now, but those are much better items over on the brand on the other side, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the composition we actually talked about. We mentioned at the very top of this game that Jirachi has the opportunity to reroll brand, can play blue buff and the Morellonomicon. And if you're wondering what the third item is and you played during set 5, just think about Rise and what items Rise wanted. That's the items that Brand wants at this point. Just the
blue buff Guardian Angel and the Mortal Nomicon and just go to town. And because Fiddlesticks is so prevalent and it tops out your end game, you just end up giving Fiddlesticks the third item that you want on your Abomination, if it's even relevant. Sometimes you don't care. And then you just put Brand in the opposite corner, because whatever units are closest to the Monstrosity Grave will end up getting it.
Yep, that's right. So you can prevent it from getting the random Brand item that way. Pretty big hit for Broccoli to be able to hit the Zyrith 2. That's going to provide a little bit more CC, a little bit more damage, but still looking a little bit rough. Going up against Spicy Appies right now, who has 4 Dawnbringer, a couple Cavaliers in, so this is going to be a team that might be a little bit tough to cut through.
That's right. Look at this Kha'Zix just getting back in. What set am I watching? Is this set 3 Kha'Zix with the Void coming in and just assassin everything? Did not finish off the Brand, and that's still a meaningful amount of DPS. And Spicy Appies probably frustrated. So many units just barely surviving. Nunu finally drops.
Huge.
But the set and the Brand end up living, and that's extra damage being dealt to Spicy Appies.
I mean, you know what's really good against Dawnbringer Frodan is Sunfire Cape. I think that's a bit of a Sunfire diff there, and Broccoli's going to be happy to finally get a win.
That's right. Taking a look at the carousel, any really high impact units. That's a sword onto a Vel'Koz. It's a really big pickup if you want to start making the Shojin onto that. Jirachi immediately beelines for it. Can play this 4 Spellweavers variant of the Brand. Again, I haven't found much success for it, but that doesn't mean people don't know how to get a top 3 or beyond with that composition. But if you take a look at how everything is shaping up, you see, a lot of people whose teammates are in the bottom 4. Buzzyboo in first, Jirachi in 8th, GVA in second, Spicy Happy's in the bottom 4. So have to really find a way to smooth it out. Otherwise, every team is going to end this game exactly in the same place of standings as they were previously.
Yeah, it's possible. You never know. On board with Brian now, a member of the Pokegam fan club. Brian, Melton Hart are the 2 players on this one. Not Pokegam, don't get confused. Finds the early Vel'Koz, so you can get some damage out of this at least. But long term, we'll see what he ends up going. Got a Jax there as well, but I think this is an interesting kind of thing to take note of, is that there's nothing wrong with taking a 4-cost carry that can make a big difference like a Vel'Koz sometimes can, and putting it in with a comp that it doesn't necessarily fit with at this point in the game.
There's some beautiful positioning happening in this fight. You see that perfect concave circle surrounding Vel'Koz with a nice little layered shield? This was pretty much as good as it gets.
He tried.
Without a doubt, Bry's board was weaker than Buzzyboo, but was able to maximize it. Also, very funny that Bry is doing a really good impression of me at prom. I just did not feel like I felt in. There are no redeemed and Spellweavers. Finds a death cap opportunity for this Vel'Koz. An opportunity to start buffing out.
I like the Covalent Spark here. I agree, because I don't even know if he's sure about going AP at this point. I mean, yeah, the Rabadon's Ascended Death Cap is a strong item. All right, goes for it. Leans into the Vel'Koz. But at this point, Frodan, it feels like you need to find a lot more to support this Vel'Koz. Otherwise, you're gonna be taking close losses, but you're still gonna be taking losses.
I mean, yeah, Bry does not have a single redeemed or Spellweaver unit. No tags end up bolstering the damage. And Vel'Koz is definitely one of those multiplicative champions abilities that just deals a lot more the more you support it. I'm actually thinking about if he finds another tier, can do another Chalice with that extra cloak. Going up against a redeemed player, a redeemed Spatula on that Karma. What set am I watching right now? Does end up picking the Radiant Chalice as well. Golden Ice Cream is on the menu today. And that's gonna be
that doesn't sound very good, man. I don't know. Golden Ice Cream, I'm not sure what that would taste like. I'm not super confident.
It tastes like a loss, actually. A Chalice of Clarity.
I was gonna say.
Doesn't actually do too much. The Spell Vamp is okay, but usually it's a sign of desperation, in my opinion. Okay. So Spicy Appies might be playing the Redeemed featuring a Vel'Koz and Fiddlesticks carry. This is a very underground build, which is totally up Spicy Appy's alley. If you ever watch Spicy Appy stream, he loves experimenting with all kinds of different builds. And Fiddlesticks carry is reasonable at surviving stage 4, but you really need a Vel'Koz. So it finds a Vel'Koz, it's huge. Put the Hand of Justice there. Yeah, all right.
Warmogs. Now, I was wondering if maybe the plan was going to be Morellos for the Fiddlesticks, but the Warmogs for the Rel right now might be a little bit higher priority, just because you're going to need a little bit more of a front line with this comp at the moment.
Yeah, and one thing that's really great with this redeem spat in particular is that Spicy Appies, if this lobby complexion ends up gravitating towards AP, Heimerdinger, Teemo, whatever Revenant shenanigans, does have the opportunity to scale up to a lot of Mystics. And this is a composition that actually can benefit from it due to the fact of how much resistance is and AP they share across all the traits. So this is a very interesting opportunity. I don't know how well positioned Spicy Appies in the lobby because we don't have the full complexion. For example, against GVA's comp, not that great. It is Spicy Appy's teammate, but unfortunately takes 1 damage too few in order to get the Radiant Blessing. Broccoli instead crosses over, so I'd love to see what that Radiant package is. Broccoli Scout, you know you want to. Scout Broccoli, do it. Look at over Broccoli's board, please. Dependent on you. We don't have spectator mode. That's coming into set 13. We don't know.
Yeah, someday.
Okay.
Someday. Don't get me started, Frodan. Finds the tier, so yeah, sure, you can make something out of that, but you might as well wait a little bit and see what you find off of Carousel. But it is tragic to be 1 point away from the stimulus package there, not getting the Radiant Blessing. But it also hurts equally bad to get sent farther down to the bot 8 by your teammate. Because remember, it's a team tournament. You want to try to add those points together. Let's check out Broccoli's board again, and he has got Abomination Spat going now. So offers some more flexibility than you would normally have in this composition.
Yep, so my assumption is that Broccoli got some gold as well as the tome that allows you to get 4 emblems in the shop, and he chose the Abomination one. That's my guess. Of course, you can get
might be right.
The tome off of the PvE round, but who knows? Going up against Bry, who did 2-star that Vel'Koz, still is lacking that mana generating item without Invoker, also struggles. Again, Vel'Koz very dependent on that mana item, and you want that Invoker synergy. We do have a few other players joining the Radiant Blessing crew. Spicy Appies and Jirachi now are below 40. We're hopping on board with Jirachi. Does find the Tome of Traits.
Yep, you were right. Huh. Okay, so immediately goes for the Spellweaver emblem. Okay, so 4 Spellweaver is going to be the plan for Jirachi, and putting it on the Fiddlesticks. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
I like it.
Fiddlesticks
still
is
a brand 1 though, which is tragic.
it is a brand 1, which is, you know, appallingly bad luck here for Jirachi.
Yeah.
In fact, everything is 1-star except for the frontline units. I guess the Desire is. But yes, the unit holding 3 items is at 1-star, and it's not looking good. That being said, the Spellweavers still do a lot of damage, and it's not like A-Bomb can't hold the Spellweaver spat. It is something that still is semi-relevant despite its big nerfs to its damage. And that's why people started transitioning it to be a tank. So this is still a situation where Jirachi can just hit 2 stars and stabilize and maybe aim for like a 5th. I think it's completely doable. And what a lobby it would be to see 2 players in the same lobby try to rely on Fiddlesticks as a secondary form of damage. But it is also not a surprise to see them both 7th, 8th place.
Maybe underrated, who knows? But let's see what the choices are here. Honestly, in Jirachi's place, you'd almost want to see a brand on the carousel. Just be like, my kingdom for a brand too at this point. Yeah. But ends up going with, I believe it was the rod there. I didn't quite check it out. But yeah, you need some upgrades at this point. The nice thing is that you do have the Nunu 2 with the redemption. So you get value there, and then you get the redemption value again when the monstrosity comes out. So not only is that tanky, but it just provides a lot of healing that keeps your fragile units up a little bit more.
So Vel'Koz.
Okay,
you could see the fabled 6 Spellweaver composition. I saw Sox do it one time. Okay, it ends up subbing out the brand. Looks like with the Teemo pickup, it's just better to make Teemo be your carry here in this case, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, when you get to 4 or 5 and you still don't have a brand 2, it's time to make a change, you know. And at that point, 100% that Teemo is going to be much, much stronger than what you had before. And, you know, they've got good items for it, too. So why not make that decision? I think it's a good decision.
Oh, my God. Speaking of making it, Buzzy Boo has an Akshan, too. At 4-5. Everything else is 1-star except for this Akshan, too.
Doesn't matter. Radiant Runins. Radiant Runins, Frodan.
Yeah. The Deathblade, Radiant Runins, it's just really, really powerful. Akshan is the definitive attack damage carry in the late game.
as he's able to Spider-Man his way around, catching all the bad guys, trolling all the villains. And Buzzy Boo looks primed right now to make another top 4 placement.
Yeah, looks pretty good. All right, so Buzzy Boo again also has the Dawnbringer spatula, which is a little bit interesting. Shows maybe the plan was something with a Riven or a Nidalee early on, but 6 Sentinel would be a great thing to be able to put in here.
Yeah, the Dawnbringer spats, just kind of a nice little boost because Irelia scales so well with health because of her damage reduction going up to 80%, down from 90%. Now going up against Bri, who does have the Shojin completed, and we kind of mentioned how Redeemed might end up doing well in a lobby full of AP, but this is an AD-based composition. Here comes the Akshan rolling through, and Vel'Koz completely misses the point of this battle. It was not to target the solo frontline Irelia. It was all about Akshan too, and you can see why Akshan is the bane of AP carry's existence in the late game. We talked about it in the break of why it's important to have that counter to Heimerdinger and Vel'Koz and all these big AP nukes onto the board. You got to see why exactly that was the case.
Yeah, looked like there might have been a 4 Ranger option there too. I'll have to check back later. Meanwhile, on board with Raditz, speaking of Rangers, we've got the a little bit more typical Night Ranger build, as you could say, I guess, like Nightbringer with the Aphelios. Has the option for Aurelia too. I don't think you really need to put that in at the moment, though. That's going to be a very strong Aphelios, though. Those are pretty great items for that.
Yep. The key to this composition that Raditz has is either a Nightbringer emblem that he can get potentially on 5-2, or finding an opportunity to find Akshan. Akshan would be huge to support Aphelios, because Aphelios is really great at trying to attack the front line without, the ability to cast many times on his ultimate. He's not actually targeting the backline super often, maybe once or twice a fight if you're very fortunate and there's not enough backline access. But Akshan really supports Aphelios well as a 1-2 punch with the heroic swing coming down. Doesn't really seem like he found much on his roll down, though. This is quite unfortunate. So he's still going to have to remind it. No positioning for the trap claw either.
Yeah, you can see that he tried to move the Ash over just at the last minute, didn't quite get it there in time. And, he's got a lot of HP to use, but, if he ends up losing this round, which against a Heimerdinger 2 with those items, it's definitely possible, that little bit extra HP that he might have been able to save is going to come back to haunt him. But just one of those things that happens when you're making so many decisions so quickly. It's those last-minute moves that sometimes get a little bit too delayed.
Yep, and it's just, exactly. I think a lot of people end up realizing that they rolled a little bit too much and they don't know what their position are in. They know the items that they want to put on whom, but they don't have the right spot. And now Ray's in a spot where he has to keep rolling. Finds Diana finally, so that's 6 Nightbringer. But again, we kind of talk a little bit about how awkward it is when you go 6 Nightbringer and you have Vladimir in your composition. You don't get to do things like put an Ironclad very easily. So what does Ray choose to do? You can see him thinking. He has 5 seconds. Guess in the end, he's just going to roll a little bit more and see if he can find something and place in the Ironclad the last second. Puts in Jax.
Yeah, I mean, 6 Nightbringer is okay, but a lot of Aphelios builds are content to just go 4 Nightbringer and then put in some of those other side synergies like you were talking about, Ironclad and all that. But look at the Akshan jumping into the back line, swings away though, and actually Aphelios getting plenty of time to fire the damage in, and that is enough time to do damage. So that's one of those situations too where if you're worried about a big Akshan in the other on another board, having that extra large shield from 6 Nightbringer is going to come in handy.
Yeah, I can't believe the items on this Lee Sin. I didn't even see it at the very beginning of the fight, but he got the Guardian Angel Morel Nomicon, which is 2 of the best items that you can ask for if you're going to solo frontline Lee Sin. And his cripple does massive amounts of work on his opponent. Heading on over to Team People Riot, where we have Team Liquid's Grand Vice 8. We caught up with him, telling that he was going to play Yasuo in the beginning. He has the Nightbringer spat, and he put it onto his Volibear. So he does have what I consider to be the strongest variation of this composition. I do think his items are a little bit left to be desired. I mean, while, having a lot of these things are great for utility, like Assassin Lee Sin and the Diana with the Guardian Angel, just kind of lacks that real oomph right now in his composition. So while it looks good on paper, I don't know if he can do much better than the 5th at the moment, but we shall see. Going up against another fight featuring Buzzyboo and Akshan too.
We're getting the grand tour for Buzzyboo's opponents here apparently this time, and yeah, you can see all the damage the Akshan is doing. And that Yasuo is going to be strong at 6 Nightbringer, but just not quite strong enough to burn through everything. And again, like, how do you catch the Akshan? You can see him kind of shaking his head there a little bit. Like, it's a tough matchup too, and you're gonna need more damage sources than just that Yasuo 2 with items. He's got an Aphelios 2, but no items on it, so it's not going to contribute all that much. So I think the theme for GV8 is going to be like, you know, finding a little bit more diversity to the damage sources here if he wants to get a top 4.
It is brutal out here. It's just going to take the Warmogs. I mean, that's just his front line. His front line's really suspect at the moment.
Yeah, that too.
As, Grand Vice does end up prioritizing that defensiveness. His teammate, Spicy Appies, has also been eliminated in 8th place, which is, I believe, back-to-back 8th places for Spicy Appies. That's not a good start for Team People Riot, and it's up to GV8 to really pull those results up. Finds an Ivern 2. That's a very big deal, and with Redemption, double Redemption stacked, that could give the ability for GV to have his front line and eat it too. So I think right now that is a really big upgrade, and if you can get the right positioning, GV might be able to sneak into the top 4.
You were right too about Spicy Appies taking an 8th in the last game. That's a second 8th in a row, so that's a little bit on the rough side to say the least. Who is Grand Vice's opponent going to be this time? It's Raditz. Okay, so Raditz, another Nightbringer build. That Yasuo is going to do a lot of damage though, and that Trap Claw is going to pay dividends against possibly the Diana in the back line. Huge.
Yes,
yeah, the Diana got avoided.
Yeah, but the Doombringer from Volibear comes in and does end up stunning Aphelios just for a little bit longer. Yasuo actually can't get to the back line because of all the units trying to set around the Aphelios, giving it just a little bit more time to breathe.
Okay.
Ray takes another loss.
Interesting. Huh, all right. So it was just a case where even though that Trap Claw was nice to give Aphelios time to do damage, he just simply couldn't do enough, it seemed like. And Diana 2, nice hit for GV8 right now. This is what I'm talking about. This is why I love watching GV8, because you're always convinced in a lot of his games that he's going to bot 4 for sure. And he still might here. But he finds ways through positioning, through little risks on roll downs at times you might not expect him, things like that, to kind of sneak out these top 4s and even higher sometimes.
Yeah, speaking of going higher, Broccoli has been climbing. He was one of the players who was loose streaking, finds an opportunity to bench swap. This is one of the new hotkey tricks that players are doing when they use the W and tab key. That's a video that Solus highlighted for some of the players out there if you're wondering what he just did. Broccoli has a Heimerdinger 2 with 2 Hand of Justice. That's going to be a lot of nuke on the board. And it comes down to how much damage remains here for GV8 to be able to take down. Heimerdinger didn't end up biting the dust. And this Runa's Hurricane, Yasuo's not dying. No one's focusing it.
Redemption,
and Yasuo is almost at full power.
That double redemption is just putting out so much healing. I want to see the healing tab. I wish Broccoli would click on that, because the Radiant Redemption plus a regular Redemption is making it so hard for opponents to kill his board. Jirachi is out in 6th meanwhile. So counting on their opponent Buzzyboo to bring some points in for the team this game now.
Yep. Actually, you know, shout out to Jirachi. That looked like a very difficult spot to do better than like 5th or 6th. So landing there was probably the best case scenario given their starting items and situation and the role, finding only one brand the entire time. So that's a good 6, even though obviously Jirachi would be the first to say that they wish it wasn't the case. Broccoli with this Bloodthirster probably just ends up placing it on like Teemo just to give a little bit defensibility to it, or some other unit that could also utilize the shield. Gwen could theoretically use it as well. Not great.
Yeah, I mean that's a nice thing with the Bloodthirster now, is that since the rework and the addition of the shield a while ago, it's good on anyone late game who you just want to give a little bit more survivability to. Finds the ability to throw in the Ivern as well, so that'll bring him up to 4 Revenant.
Yeah.
So at least you've got more time there.
There is a Zephyr to consider. One in the bottom left corner on Broccoli's side. Goes up against Buzzy Boo's board. That is a lot of backline access with the Diana and the Akshan. And that front line looks like it's got fleshed out pretty well with the Rel 2 now holding that Dawnbringer spat. Doombringer completely misses the carries. So it's now just up to the Heimerdinger.
Oh, the Akshan.
The Akshan with the heroic swing with the drive-by shots, eliminating the backline DPS. And Broccoli with one of the strongest variations of the board might not be able to make a top 4.
Yep. It's looking grim for sure. Do you grab the Nikos here? Yeah, you might as well. All right. Ivern 2. Oh, he sells the Gwen. He's going to go up to... all right. Interesting. So selling the Gwen.
This is awkward.
Yeah, this is super awkward. I'm trying to figure out exactly what Broccoli is thinking here, because that Gwen is so nice to have in the backline protecting a little bit. Wanted to find a way to make the Ivern 2 without using the Nico, basically, is what it is at the end of the day, because, you know, if you find like a Volibear, there you go. Yeah, getting a second Volibear in is really big. So you can see why they went to such great lengths to get that done. But is it worth? We'll find out. But we're going over to Buzzy Boo's perspective for now. 3 Ironclad keeping his Akshan 2 shored up, but this is a scary board.
Yeah, Buzzy Boo did end up getting the Zephyr on his Aphelios, and Akshan does end up having very trolly fights with Tristana in particular. It's just a bunch of jumping around. It's like crouching tiger, hidden Hellions going on, and Akshan able to eliminate the Tristana, no problem, easy peasy. Buzzy Boo at level 9, much stronger than Melton Heart. Talked about how it felt like he was a guaranteed top 4. He has all but done it. Raditz, despite being at 80 HP at the beginning of stage 5, goes down all the way to single digits. He might not make a top 4.
Yeah, gotta find a way to either take out Broccoli or hope Broccoli falls in his next round if Raditz is going to be able to top 4 this time. Thresh 3 for Melton Heart. Thresh 3, always good for one-shotting people. And now... what's going to be the plan here for Buzzy Boo? And, you know, Buzzy Boo already pretty much guaranteed for a top 4 finish here, especially after hitting that Fiddlesticks 2. But that would be great because he took second in game number 1. So, second in game number 1, you know, theoretically top 4 here. And so even if you've got your teammate going out in the bot 4, you know, you can theoretically bring in enough points to still be very high in the standings after 2 games.
Yep, very much so. And an opportunity to beat Broccoli and send one of the members from Soulcaf Recon home in bottom 4. Everything's clumped up very nicely, and Heimerdinger not able to do enough work here, and Akshan and the Rangers showing you why we called it a high risk, high reward. Not really much of a risk if you hit Akshan 2 by 4-5, but the reward is sweet. Look at Buzzy Boo eliminating Broccoli. Raditz does survive. GB8 now down to single digits. But what a good top 4 it was from Grand Vice, who looked like he was destined for a bot 4 finish.
Yeah, I keep saying it. Like this guy has a way to pull top 4s out of absolutely nowhere. It's amazing to watch. I love his stream. But
totally,
Buzzy Boo right now thinking about first. What is the best way to take first? Maybe grab that Deathblade. Okay, so you can put the Deathblade on somebody.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know what he's putting it on? He's putting on his second Akshan too.
Yeah.
He has a second Akshan too that he is ready to go for. As soon as he finds that opportunity, I think he should go for it. It would be so fun to watch 2 Akshan 2s just swinging across the board. Okay, all right. It ends up just making the Aphelios.
I think that's very creative. Yes, I like it. Oh, Garen 2 is a pretty huge hit too. But oh wow, the Gwen 2, all the hits coming through, and I really do like using the item remover to just put better damage items on the Aphelios, make the most use of that Deathblade, and then be like, you know, I don't necessarily need a defensive item because I'm going to get that spell shield from the Trap Claw now that he's got on the Gwen too. So, all in all, that was a big upgrade for Buzzy Boo, who's already strong board, but this is going to be the real test right here, that Aphelios.
The Viego steal is so big. Now there's 2 Aphelios working for Raditz, and Akshan has to clean up both sides of the board, and does end up being able to clean up one of them.
One more swing.
Another cast.
Oh,
so close.
Wow, that's a feels bad, man, when your Viego steals the Aphelios 2 on the other side and still can't get you the win. That's rough. Melton Heart getting taken out as well. It's nearly a double kill, but it goes to GV8 in second place here against Buzzy Boo. But I gotta say, Buzzy Boo looking very strong right now.
Yeah, you know, Buzzy Boo having a very real human moment. He hit so hard, he didn't even consider positioning whatsoever. Got really out-positioned by Ray. Doesn't matter. His board is just so strong. And Ray finishing in fourth, along with his teammate Broccoli, doing you know, the wide peepo happy impression of fourth and fifth. Melton Hart, Pocky Fan Club, able to get into third place. And now GVA somehow magically has snuck into the top two. And this is a fight potentially that could determine the rest of the game, or if we're going to go to stage 7 and see some extra TFT bonus action.
Oh, the Akshan 2 swung away right before the Aphelios ability came through and slowed the attack speed. That's really nice for Buzzy Boo. Akshan still relatively untouched. That Yasuo 3, though, is going to need some shots. Oh, never mind. He's just gone. He evaporated. He disappeared.
Wow, Yasuo 3 giving Buzzy Boo a run for his money. Is GV8 going to pull what looked like to be a bottom 4 finish into a first place? That Bloodthirster is, well, not entirely necessary. You know, Buzzy Boo already has 6 AD items committed. Does he need a 7th? He can give it to Jax? That's not really what he's looking for. What Buzzy Boo needs to do is exactly what he's trying to figure out, which is, what is the optimal positioning? Is it just crowd around my Gwen? Is it try to reorganize so that way I can land the proper Volibear? Is Garen relevant at all? I heard he stinks, but we do have all these good items on the Garen too. Theoretically, that should be good. There's a lot to consider here on Buzzy Boo's side in terms of way he can tilt it, because GV8, if he wins one more fight, he's going to end this game in first place.
I mean, GV8 is 8 Nightbringer right now, and we're going to go over to his perspective. And so you're going to just have that massive damage, massive shield. So the only hope for Buzzy Boo is to try to find some way to get the Akshan to activate a lot of the Nightbringer shields and then have the Volibear take them off. But trying to, like, engineer that timing is going to be extremely difficult. So it's looking all GV8, and I gotta say, if he wins this, I wish I could say I'd be surprised, but I've seen him win so many games exactly like this from this situation that it's just what he does, you know?
It's true, and I noticed that he has 8 Nightbringers, so after the dawn comes the night. Here we go. Can GVA turn it around and send this one home for Team People Riot? Cutting down. Yasuo's not getting contested whatsoever, but that Volibear does destroy the shield, and Akshan comes in and starts hugging Yasuo, and Yasuo is stunned indefinitely, and this was the fight that Broku was looking for, or Buzzy Boo rather. Buzzy Boo is going to close it out with a win. GVA's dreams have been crushed. And that is going to be a win for Buzzy Boo. Well done. Able to get a top finish in game 1, able to get a top finish in game 2, and the Mega Ferds are looking mighty fine, DoA.
I mean, Buzzy Boo upgrading from a second to a first, you can't really ask much more than that. But, you know, it happened exactly like we said, right? Where it's like he needed to find a way to get rid of those Nightbringer shields. That was the key. Volibear came through, and then you've just got enough damage with the Akshan. So it was cool to see. But it's also, you know, huge credit to GV8 as well for being able to take what looked like a very sure bot 4 and turn it into a second place. Like, obviously, that's a lot of points for his team, and he needs them because Spicy Appies went out in 8th that game, a second game in a row. But at the same time, it's just an impressive performance in general to be able to pull a second out of the fire like that.
Yes, I think the specific play that caught our attention, I'm sure there's a lot of really good plays, but I think one most important aspect that we noticed was that GVA took Warmogs. We noticed that he had, you know, obviously a lot of defensive items already, right? He had Radiant Redemption and Regular Redemption and Nightbringer Spat. Those are all, you know, items that you can use defensively to give yourself a lot of health. But he chose Warmogs and didn't put it on a frontline unit. What did he do with that Warmogs armor? He put it on his Diana. And Diana was able to get multiple casts each fight. And because of that, with so much backline stationary carries like Aphelios and Heimerdinger, he was able to swing really important fights. I can't emphasize it enough. Diana that lands a Moonfall will swing every one of these fights. So overall, really well done. And just good TFT that we're watching right now.
Yeah, the first 2 games have been really fun already. A lot of variety, a lot of really good play. You can tell the players are hyped up, and I think the most hyped up players in Lobby B are going to be the Mega Ferts, Buzzy Boo, and Jirachi, able to take the $50 for their overall winnings in the tournament. Let's check out the scoreboards from each lobby. It was Delicious Milk getting first place in Lobby A. Interesting. All right, so Delicious Milk and Becca, great results, actually. Yeah, Becca coming in 3rd, so that team, definitely the stocks are rising there.
And you know, they had a really reasonable finish. Again, Becca and
Yeah.
Milk had a situation in game 1 where it looked like they were going to go bot 4 together, but they managed to pull it back. And taking a look at what happened in that lobby, it looks like Milk cleaned it up with the Tristana reroll in first. Nubao got the Yasuo online for Nightbringers in second. And then Becca with a Vel'Koz Spellweaver A-Bomb build in third. And why people happy, able to get some big points on the board. Shout out to Pakigam, also playing the same comp as Becca, but just like he was a little bit farther behind. But man, Lobby A seemed to have a huge amount of AP spike in that one.
Yeah, and people have been wondering when the AP comps are going to start coming up again, and maybe it's now, maybe the patch this week is going to swing that a bit too. But let's take a look at our overall standings. Megafurts, of course, with 2 really good results in the first couple games of the day, in first, but only by 1. Why people happy? Again, we talked about the powerhouse duo of Milk and Becca, able to take second, and then it's a bit of a gap down to where you get the 22-point teams: Rat Owl, Ramblin' Robin, and Pakigam Fan Club.
Totally. I mean, some people, they choose friends, right, for these kinds of competitions, people that they really trust. Some people choose other sweaty competitors to try to maximize the percentages.
Right.
And people weren't entirely sure what a composition of Delicious Milk plus beccatilts would end up, having a result in. Because if you watch their stream, their collaboration, the way Milk was coaching Becca, it led to some very questionable moments. A very hilarious 30 seconds for everybody on the planet except for 2 people. So I wasn't sure how it would be, but I'm really glad I doubted them, because if I picked them to win, they would absolutely go 7th and 8th every single game. So Becca and Milk, you're welcome. I'll send you my PayPal details later.
You dodged the caster curse there. They must have the caster trap claw or something like that, but it ended up working out. But yeah, I guess you've got the autonomy too, right? Where you're not gonna get the coaching situation that we saw go so well the other day, but it was fun to watch either way. That said, we've still got 2 more games to go, so half the day remaining here. We're going to take a short break, but while we go to break, or before we go, Gangly is going to be here to tell us a little bit more about fantasytft.com and how you can enjoy the great TFT stock market game they've got going over on that site. So go check it out.
Fantasy TFT is a free-to-play stock market game where you compete against other TFT esports fans in real time to earn prizes during the live broadcast. Click on the Open tab to see which contests are going on. After joining a contest, you'll start off with shares of each TFT competitor, as well as additional cash to buy competitors with. From there, you'll see a list of TFT competitors and a graph indicating their current prices. Now, this is where your knowledge of TFT comes in. During the matches, pay attention to each player because you can change your mind at any time. The price of each competitor will change based on their performance. Like how someone is playing, buy their shares. Think someone made a mistake, sell them before their stock goes down. Buy low and sell high to maximize your score, and if you can outtrade everyone in the market, you'll walk away with a prize.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Giant Slayer series presented by Wisdom. And I'm not just talking about the smarts, the brain smarts, Frodan. I'm talking about a great esports company up in Minneapolis, Minnesota that puts on this and many other great esports events and a lot of different games actually right now. So yeah, great job over there with the staff producing this. So, Frodan, 2 games down, 2 to go today. Early frontrunners have been Jirachi and Buzzy Boo's team, and Delicious Milk and Becca. Other teams, GV8, getting some good results as teammate, not so much. It's only the first day of competition, but it's interesting to see which teams are kind of rising to the top so far today.
Yeah, and also who are the individuals that are performing really well, right? We knew that players like, Delicious Milk and Ramblin had it in them to get those lobby wins. But Buzzy Boo seems to be rattling off really good performance, a second or first. Melt and Heart with a first and a third. GV8 with a third and a second. So a second and a fourth. So really nice results overall from some of these individual performances that I think people should be pretty happy. The only caveat is that there is a dubious award happening and a very tight race between who can get the fewest points today. And right now, Rue Loves You and Spicy Appies, both with back-to-back 8th places. And I will remind you that there are only 4 games today. So it is possible to rattle off an 8th and 8th, a 7th, and then a 5th place, which is kind of a cursed number in the TFT community. Yeah, I really hope that doesn't happen. I really hope it doesn't happen.
I'm really worried. Like, I feel like you've invoked the prophecy now of 8875, and now it's like inevitable. One of these players is going to be doomed to relive Soju's anti-finest hour, as we know. But let's jump into our next game of the day, our third game of the day. Again, shout out to Ball Street for helping us out with this tournament, and also for providing fantasytft.com, a great place to go play some fun free games, get some possible gift cards as well. So definitely go do that. Delicious Milk, a member of Wide Peepo Happy, along with Becca, is who we're going to focus on at the beginning of this game. Back to Lobby A once again. Finds a sword. I've been going for a lot of bow starts lately. Frodan, what do you prefer off the carousel these days?
I prefer either bow or a defensive item, largely because I feel very comfortable with reroll compositions in particular. I kind of just pick based off of like some of the lobby context that I have. So I like that. However, I've been more open to starting things like tier because it feels like we have better builds. Apologies, by the way. That is not your stream that is freezing. That is the feed that we're taking. So Milk's stream looks like has become temporarily unstable. We're going to try to get back into it just a second.
That's right. As Tasteless once said, the great StarCraft 2 caster, technology is the vehicle of esports, right? And sometimes the vehicle breaks down. You got to fix it a little bit. So we'll get that done pretty quickly. But going back to what you were talking about, Bo's good. We talked about tier start coming up a little bit. Back on board with Delicious Milk now, as he thinks more about.
Wow.
Oh, we got a Nico start. Forget items, or at least regular items. Nico starts. Finds a Poppy too, which I feel like makes up for it. But whenever I get a Nico lately, I'm kind of just waiting to use it on a 3 cost, I feel like most games now.
Honestly, I'm okay with using it on Tristana and just 2-starring Tristana really fast as well to stabilize. But it depends, right? Like some people don't want to do that. Oh, wow. Finds a Nidalee, a really good user. Bloodthirster just finds a lot of gold. He had a lot of success with Hellion reroll. I believe Rue Loves You also contested the previous round. Has 4 poppies, can play 4 knights, and also just play skirmishers into jacks because the most common way to play jacks is to have Nidalee carry until you find jacks and then just transfer the items over and then play what many people call Fortnite jacks, which is a play on words for 4 knights plus jacks, and also the fact that he jumps around as if he's a zoomer in Fortnite. So I am interested to see where this goes, and he slams that Bloodthirster. See what direction. Is he going to reroll, or is he going to the level?
You could go a couple different ways with it, but I mean, if you find a Tristana, things might change, right? But like, I agree with you. I think you've got a really good opportunity to go for the Jax build, and Fortnite Jax is definitely one of the stronger builds out there right now in terms of just pure consistent results. You get a Bloodthirster on Jax, you get Knights around him. You have so much durability and sustain that he just sort of cleaves his way through a lot of team comps at the moment. either way, this is a strong start, too. The Poppy 2, and again, the Bloodthirster on the Olaf. He's already got the healing built into his kit. So it's going to be a tough board to take down for a lot of the other boards in the lobby at the moment. Oh, and a bow. Not bad.
Yeah, so has the ability to set up a Last Whisper. Jax essentially has replaced Kale as this inevitable damage carry that wins you the later the fight goes. Because Kale, in many people's eyes, is not a real legendary unit, just kind of this corner case. If the stars magically align, you can find a way to top 4 with her. So it's not like she's completely unplayable, but I would say mostly unplayable.
Yeah.
But Jax does what Kale wants to do, which is like ramp up to the point where it's just uncontrollable amount of damage, and if the fight lasts too long, you win. So we'll see. Check back in with Milk later. Meanwhile, hopping on board with Rat Owl's very own Noob Owl. We got recently signed by Invictus Gaming, a perennial #1 rank holder. I think a lot of people always view Noob Owl as one of the leaders in thought for meta development. If Noob Owl is doing it, it's got to be good. That's a lot of what people think. So, I'm curious to see what he's going to be able to pull off. Does have the Draconic opener, which heavily implies he's going to go to its AP tree. Already has that rod. Can make things like an Archangel to start things off, or even the Rage Blade. But we'll see what he ends up going for, because he could also realistically just use these items to, say, make a Titan's Resolve or a Sunfire on an Abomination. So he's very open.
Yeah, good start for that build. I want to step back a moment and talk on a broader esports sense about how big of a deal it is for Noob Owl and DQA to get picked up by Invictus Gaming. That is a very old, very successful esports organization, and so to see an org like that picking up TFT players is a great sign for the health of the competitive scene for this game. And it's other orgs are noticing. They're like, oh, IG's picking up TFT players? Maybe we have to start thinking about this. So if you're wondering how TFT Esports is doing, IG picking up TFT players is a really good sign.
Yeah, and they picked great players.
Yeah, they did.
Noob Owl, DQA, and Goobums are all like definitely the top players in North America just based off their ladder and tournament results in combination. DQA made it to the Set 4 Fates Championship and got just barely outside the top 8, finished 9th in the world last season. So, really good stuff there coming out from IG to pick up 3 fantastic young talent. And I know for Noob Owl specifically, as he looks like he's going to get crushed in this fight here as Ramblin' level to 5. Noob Owl said that he wasn't sure if he wanted to commit to TFT because he wanted to go to school. And now because of what's happening with his stream popping off and he got signed, he's going to definitely try to do both. We've seen many people split the baby pretty effectively. Another notable example is Mismatch Socks, who recently had a baby, but also, of course, is working a full-time job while trying to play in some TFT tournaments.
He's really doing it on hard mode, isn't he?
The hardest,
He's got the brain to do it, but man, yeah. School, baby, and TFT, that is a rough schedule. He's handling
work baby, and TFT, but yeah.
He is putting out great content consistently too.
Yeah, very much so. Lots of really interesting content that's been coming out lately with how people evaluate certain things. Sox recently put out a guide talking about when to commit to comps. Sometimes the comps just are a little bit abstract. You're not sure when. And sometimes you get Draconic on 2-1 like Noob Owl. We're going to hop on board with Noob Owl's teammate, DQA, check in with him. No Draconic yet, only holding 2 out of the 3.
Are they both trying to play Draconic? They kind of, he's looking at his board. He's like, you got to be careful not to grief your teammate, though. So, interesting. What do you think of that? I'm a little bit surprised that he's even picking up some of those items when he knows his teammate is looking for some of that.
Yeah, Draconic isn't really a comp.
It's a means to an end.
Yeah, so you could have 4 or 5 people playing Draconic. It's just that this is when you pull out. It's actually very similar to like a stock asset for people who are playing fantasy TFT alongside.
True.
It's just one of these things where like you don't really want to be the last one holding onto the Draconics, because that means you probably held onto it a little bit too late. It's all about risk and reward with Draconic, about how long you stay versus how you go. I've seen lobbies where like 6 people were playing Draconic at one point and just trying to ramp up their eco, and everyone kind of like universally agreed to lose streak or not care about their health. So what ended up happening was
2 players are like 80 HP and everybody else has their Radiant Blessing.
Yeah.
It's really, really weird when that happens. But alas, we're getting a little far away from what's happening here. DQA does not have the Draconic still. Has to kind of evaluate if he wants to sell this Ash for gold, because at this point,
I think you do.
Draconic is about economy, and
Yeah.
selling Ash would make economy. So we have to figure that out.
I'm kind of leaning in favor of selling it to make that 30 gold. If you're going into Krugs and you still don't have Draconic going, he sees his teammate Nubal that he's playing against now, you know, it's probably time to just focus on what economy you can develop and go on from there. But, you know, we'll see. You know, maybe you wait until 3-1, maybe you wait and see what you get through Krugs, but I'd be very tempted to sell, especially losing.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where if he had won, obviously
Yeah.
sells the Udyr and the Vayne, but in this case, just making 30. Taking some inventory check at the end of stage 2. Robin at the very bottom at 64 with Milk and Rue. These are our 3 lose streaking players. Meanwhile, at the very top, it's business as usual for Ramblin', one of the most prominent players at putting together strong boards and loves being in a position of power from win streaking, alongside Pokigam and Becca.
Ramblin', okay, Sentinel, Dawnbringer, Legionnaire. Yeah, a lot of those early Sentinel boards, if you 2-star a couple things, can definitely get you on a win streak. So no big surprise there. As we saw DQA check Nubal's board, we saw Nubal was able to hit the Nunu 2, which is a nice power spike going into the beginning of stage 3. So his teammates looking pretty stable there. What are the Krugs going to bring, though? A cloak and some gold.
Okay.
All right.
So defensive components. This is pretty nice here, but a little bit tricky because it still doesn't give DQA the direction. Oh wow, a pair of 2 stars.
Yeah,
that's very nice for sure. But you know, with the defensive items, that's exactly what A-Bomb wants. It's really about what DQA wants to do outside of it, right? And that's where he has to rack his brain. Because if you say you're going to play Abomination, that at best is going to be 5 units onto the board. So what else do you play around it? And that's what starts to get really interesting when you start thinking about Abomination. Yes, the composition still might be a little bit overtuned despite being nerfed God knows how many times at this point. But
Sure.
It's really about how you decorate the rest of the carries, right? Do you play a 3-cost carry like Riven or Yasuo alongside it? Are you just going AP? Do you play Spell Weavers? There's so many different things that you can do. And I think from some players' perspectives, like if you look even at Robin, they don't really have that strong of a direction despite trying to lean to the AP. I guess the Shojin does lead more towards that AP tree, but things are not going very well for Robin's start here.
Not a whole lot. Taking more damage sub 60 at 3-2 is a rough spot to be in, but you know, also now that we've got the Radiant Blessing, when you hit 40 HP, the stimulus, as people call it, you know, then you can turn it around. And honestly, things like 2-starring the set are going to help you maybe stabilize a little bit, especially in a lobby like this where it feels like we've got like 3 people at least trying to play some Draconic. So it kind of depends on who you hit, but yeah, we'll see. You want to get something soon. Oh, there's a Vel'Koz. That's really nice.
Can end up playing 3 Draconic and put this Vel'Koz in. You know, I wasn't sure how much Robin wanted to roll, and when he stopped at 30, I felt like that was a really good number, and he decided to keep rolling to see if he can improve the quality of his board. Didn't end up hitting like an Ash 2. Is that enough for him to stabilize? And stabilize isn't winning, by the way. People kind of associate that word with like winning the round. It's more about, is he minimizing his losses here? And it looks like that is going to be the case. Oh, you might actually win in this case as well, because the Sunfire is only burning 1 target at a time, and the Abomination from Nubal was not strong enough with only 1 single item. So a really nice job from Robin to turn around the tide.
Yeah, got the set and the other upgrades, and has a little bit more durability there. You know, the temptation is always to just slam the Vel'Koz right away, but obviously you want to keep Draconic going for a bit longer at least. Becca just hit a set 2 as well. I saw down near the bottom. She's at 70 HP, and I wonder if there's a Draconic board going on there too. Maybe just brawlers, but it is interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a quick scout around. It looks like there's been a hard divide between A-Bomb players and the AD players. Those are the 2 main camps that we see kind of shaping up in this lobby. DQA has really good items on this Nidalee. What the heck? A Zeke's and a Deathblade on a 1-star, not bad. A lot of times you just get a component with that.
Does end up eating a vine straight to the dome, though. So looks like the A-Bomb Draconic has very much stabilized for Robin. This is one of the hardest things to do with the composition, is evaluate your board strength relative to others without completely sacking the economic gains that you racked up all throughout stage 2. I see so many players mess it up. And of course, Robin, one of the perennial all-stars of North America at this point. Oh no! He overbought a unit and went down to 19 gold. Uh-oh. Uncharacteristic mistake.
Yeah, you miss out on 1 gold there with interest. It's not the end of the world, but doesn't exactly feel great. Picks up a vest. Oh no! Oh no! Did he?
No, he's mad about.
I was gonna say.
He's mad about the econ. He's mad about the econ.
Okay, good. I was like, the vest is okay, man. Just make some Sunfire. Okay, be happy. But yeah, it does hurt to lose the econ. He's retiring right in front of us. Goodbye.
Oh, so the door is open. So he was distracting.
Oh, I see.
Because Ivy was like trying to, do everything. If you watch Robin's stream, Ivy's always in the back, handling life, doing everything so that Robin can pursue the dream of being a pro TFT player. If you don't know already, Robin last year quit his full-time job to pursue full-time TFT. One of the first people we've heard of doing that back then, and has since been rewarded handsomely. Won tournaments, qualified really deep into regionals, and of course, got signed by Team Liquid recently alongside Grand Vice. What a great story it's been for Robin so far.
Right, getting to be part of an organization like Team Liquid is pretty amazing too. That's another one of those esports organizations that you can be very encouraged that they're picking up TFT players, because one of the best, especially on the strategy game side of esports orgs over the years. Looks like Robin Songs, though, going to be able to probably win this round. Yep, against Rue here. One half of the Neanderthals.
Yeah, Rue struggling in the first 2 games, as we mentioned, taking that back-to-back 8th place. And, it's not like Rue was doing anything particularly poor. It just seems like it hasn't panned out. Rue, for example, last game, as we approach the Radiant Armory here, and gets introduced with some pretty decent choices. For example, the light cannon, the rapid light cannon is insane on Jax, because it doubles the amount of range that you gain. It goes from a 1 to a 3 hex range on the Jax, so that's really good.
I would be leaning towards that one. I mean, Radiant Trap Claw is always a good choice too, but where you're already looking pretty committed to Jax, the cannon is perfect. Like, you look at that and you're like, all right, well, that's some of the best item combinations you can possibly get for the Jax. So the question is, how committed is Rue to this Jax? It looks like it's pretty committed. I think this is great.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have misconceptions about light cannons, or just rapid fire cannon in general, the item, and think like, oh, it's just like an item for like Yasuo. It's actually still a pretty reasonable item for a lot of different carries, particularly because attacks can't miss, and also, you get the additional attack speed that's still pretty relevant. Just look at this Jax. Be able to, as a 1-star, hold off against multiple 2-star units going up against him. This is really insane performance. Jax turning around. Close stuff.
Yep. I love the fact that you can even see the emotion on Rue's VTuber avatar. You can see it kind of leaning to the side and being disappointed there for a second. I could feel the emotion there, but because that was close. But I think that's a really encouraging sign, right? Because as soon as that Jax is 2-star, you're gonna theoretically start winning a lot of rounds. It's gonna be a very strong Jax the longer the game goes on.
Yes, the only thing about Rue's board, obviously, is the lack of upgrades. Everything was 1-star, but being in the middle of the pack, pretty reasonable. That being said, we start seeing some separation. Ramblin's still at 92 HP. Rue finds Nico's help. The moment we find another Jax, that's a Jax too.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Poppy 2. Ooh, Volibear. Passes it by, though, deciding that she doesn't need it. Okay.
She did pick up the Volibear. She's just not putting it in yet, because I think
Rel
fits a little bit better. It's okay, it's tucked over there. Volibear's a little shy, of course, just hiding over there in the corner. I don't think Volibear even goes in, so to the point that you're making, it doesn't seem like it fits naturally. The Revenant package is usually what you put in at the top end once you've stabilized. It's the dessert onto the menu. You don't want to rush things. There's an order, DoA, that we must follow in the meal, the delightful meal that is TFT.
Yeah, you could tell I was about to be unsurprised that the Volibear was passed by, but it is something you want to put in a little bit later. That said, definitely don't need it right now. That Jax already definitely making his presence felt. takes a chunk out of Becca, who's down in 8th place right now.
Oof.
And
41 HP.
Ramblin' Robin, the duo that's been doing so well today, has now been separated. Ramblin's still on top, but Robin Songs definitely struggling a little bit more than he has in the past. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Now we can just go straight to 8. We can sell. Do we want to play 4 knights in? Because we do end up having this Poppy too and this Thresh. Oh, actually, never mind. She already has Thresh in the board. So if she had 4 knights, she absolutely would be playing it. That explains a lot. I am silly. Ignore me.
Hey, man, like, we're watching a lot of things at once in these games, and I know you're paying attention to your stocks as well, so on TFT Fantasy. So it's understandable. We can't be expected to see absolutely everything. Delicious Milk, though, it looks like he's going for the Fortnite Jacks as well. And he has one of the other really, really great items for pretty much any AD carry, but quite strong on Jacks as well in the Radiant Hurricane.
Very much so. This case is just there's multiple threats. A lot of AD damage coming out from Milk. This Olaf trying to go toe-to-toe with a Riven too.
I don't know about
Almost
that.
doing a best Jax impression. Milk takes big damage, 45 life, trying to set himself up for a fast 8 potentially and roll it down. But this is going to be really difficult. Why Peepo Happy coming in at 2nd place right now, holding hands at 7th and 8th place.
Yeah.
We're seeing the Radiant Blessing. Becca gets to give us the first glimpse of it. Making
What
board
is it?
space first. I like it.
Oh, Tome. All right. Let's go. What's the plan? Spellweaver? Yeah, okay.
So 6 Spellweaver. Okay, we've seen the prestige traits be reached multiple times. 8 Dawnbringers, 8 Nightbringers. We're going to see 6 Spellweavers, though. That'll be fascinating to think about.
Maybe. It's one of those things, too, where you can just cut one of your other Spellweavers and just be more flexible with it. But I'd love to see 6 Spellweaver. I can't remember the last time I saw that in a game. So it certainly would take people by surprise. That's for sure. Going up against her teammate Delicious Milk, and with Milk's board as well, a lot of times you'll want a healing item on the Jacks, so I wonder if maybe there's a situation where if Milk comes across an Ukshan, you can maybe just swap those items over and go for something a little bit different. You can adapt the 4 Knights to make an Ukshan carry as well, if you need to. It's not... There's one.
Oh, Teemo's Spellweaver is really powerful.
Ah, true.
She's thinking about it. She goes for it. Okay, all right, we're cooking.
That's huge, right? Because that Teemo is going to be so strong from the Spellweaver buff, but then also get stronger. And Teemo casts really fast, too. So you're absolutely right, Frodan. Like, that could be a really strong pickup. And Becca needs it, 34 HP. Need to get something going here at this point.
Yeah, it's a little bit tricky, though, because now she has 2 tiers. She really wanted a completed tier item for her Vel'Koz, but now does not have it.
Item remover. I mean, you can use that.
Is she gonna sell Teemo, actually? Maybe she just wants the gold? There's no way, right? Okay.
Yeah, you got it. I think you have to keep the Teemo. It's just too strong, and I think swapping the Zarya out for that, or Zyra rather. Wrong game. Zyra out for that is not a bad idea. Happens all the time, man. I'm a busy guy, Frodan, all right?
No worries, no worries. I infamously called Blizzard. There's a card in Hearthstone called Blizzard. I called it Blitzcrank by one time by accident, and that was embarrassing. Been there, done that. Old news.
Happens to all of us.
Ramblin', not an unfamiliar sight. Seeing 2 of the same spatches be delivered, but also a familiar sight. Riven 3 from Ramblin', chopping, slicing, and dicing. Getting the ingredients ready for a fine meal consisting of Becca's remains of her composition. This is very, very powerful board coming out from Ramblers at 92 HP. Milk racing Becca for 8th place, but DQA also joins the mix. We have 3 clear players who are racing for that bottom standing finish.
Yeah, and it's too bad because I really like what Becca's board is trying to do here, where you've got the 4 Spellweaver, but you've got the Spellweaver Teemo, obviously. But I actually really like the Spellweaver Syndra as well, because you get those casts, and then you're able to throw threats away, like the Jax, like the Riven, that are going to be threatening your backline. So it's a neat adaptation to try to handle what the popular meta is right now. Don't know if it's going to work out, but I like the intent behind it, at least. I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah, I do think that we're entering the territory where it's a little bit excessive in terms of redeemed. The redeemed does offer a little bit of resistances, but there's also AP. If you're going to go for so many spellweavers, you already have a lot of AP. I don't think you need to redeem nearly as much. The tankiness, of course, is nice, but the stats aren't super great. That being said, units like Lux are some of her only 2-star units, so it feels like you're giving up a lot of the power on the board. Lux trying to do her best set 5 Reckoning impression, just finishing off what she started. And Ash 1 is not really that powerful whatsoever. I take that back. Ash 1 is the best unit in the game. Apparently, she's a 5-cost masked as a 3-cost. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, you hate to see it. I mean, like, Becca's face said it all, right? Where, like, nobody, I don't think anyone was expecting that Ash to win that. I didn't either.
Can we just say Redeem is trash? What? Come on. It's Ash 1. I know it's overtime, but come on.
Yeah, if you're not going 6 redeemed Vel'Koz, you just shouldn't be going redeemed, I think, at this point. I think that's I feel pretty safe. I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's a lukewarm take, man.
That's right. Room temperature at this point.
It's a clearly room temperature take.
Let's see what Polygon's up to here. Has the Nightbringers, but only 3, a little bit awkward. Has a Skirmisher Spatula to turn things up a little bit. Can set up a Philios with a secondary carry. Philios not the best user of the Skirmisher Spat, but totally fine. Like, it's okay. It adds his attack damage, so I guess it's something.
Yeah. Well, you know, and Polygon has had, you know, okay results today. Maybe not the greatest. I believe there was a 6th in there, and then a 4th. So, not terrible. Not great. Maybe with this Yasuo it's gonna be better. Oh, this is interesting too. You and I were actually talking about the Radiant Hex tech on Yasuo and how that's possibly stronger than people are anticipating. It's a lot of healing.
It's a very, very strong item. Some people even go as far as to argue that this is Yasuo's best item, period. Even better than things like Rapid Fire Cannon, Ruined Hurricane. I mean, obviously better than the Hand of Justice because it just does it better. But in general, like, the reason why many people had shied away from Yasuo in the past was Sustain, and the Life Blade does so much work. Finding an opportunity for additional items picks up a blue buff. I think the moment we find Diana, we are cooking. There's Diana. He was hoping to save the Frozen Heart for that moment. Now kind of debating how he wants to put this blue buff on.
I mean, you've only got a Aphelios 1 in there, and if I could pick between the two, I'd probably choose the Diana. But you don't necessarily want to just ditch the Aphelios completely either, because it's a good secondary source of damage, you know? So the question is, what do you kind of value right now? Do you value that crowd control? You could argue that a Diana 1 with no items, it a lot of times won't even get a cast off. So probably going to lean towards leaving the Aphelios in for now, but worth a bit of thought anyway.
Yeah, Porque Nolos Dos. We clearly want a Nightbringer emblem, and we also, which means we need every single Nightbringer possible. We're going up against Becca, who has 2 chalices onto this Vel'Koz. So sure, the cast will come very fast the first time around. Yasuo too not able to do enough. Becca trying her best to out-survive Milk for 8th place. And she wins.
Yep,
DQA.
she'll stay alive for now.
DQA gets the win versus Rue. That Jax is not going to be able to finish off everything unless...
Or... Oh, no, Teemo.
Yeah, everyone survives.
Yep. So the bottom 3 in the lobby all getting wins here, and that's going to be the stimulus for Pokygom, and it's going to be the Tome of Traits. What's he going to get? Cavalier. All right, that brings him up to 3 Cav. And you can do things like Cavalier Lee Sin, which is really, really strong. So we'll see what the plan is. Cavalier Aurelia obviously is nice too. 5 Nightbringer. Is he going to find the Yasuo? 1 more.
Just rolling it down. He's looking for Lee Sins as well. Not able to find it. Pretty unfortunate too, because you can see that Pokygom was planning around this tome the entire game, and didn't hit Assassin or the Nightbringer. Instead has to settle for a Cavalier spat. 3 Cavaliers, okay. Sure. It's nice on Lee Sin in particular, but yeah, clearly that Pokygom was hoping for this to be his ticket to top 4 guaranteed. Ends up being a maybe top 4 position instead, going against Rue Loves You with his Rapid Light Cannon and the Jax, completely ramping up and destroying anything that he touches. What a metallic force of destruction. Pokygom takes another loss, but at least he's not 8th. That is reserved solely for Delicioussmilkgg.
Yep. Oh boy, and Becca might be following soon. 4 HP and a dream for Becca, but we're going to jump on board with Ramblin', and he's running 4 Renewer, 4 Dawnbringer. Okay, interested to take a look at that board in a moment after we see what the selection is going to be. Yep, it is that Riven 3 board that we were looking at, but with the Heimerdinger and the Renewer 4, that's actually a Heimerdinger that's going to cast very quickly, especially if he gets the Shojin. Oh, Shojin and Rageblade and 4 Renewer. If he can 2-star that Heimerdinger, that might just lock in this board as like a top 2, maybe a top 1.
I mean, this looks like top 2, even just with the Heimer 1.
Maybe, yeah.
But does, of course, lack a couple of key 2-star units. Obviously, would love to get Rakan and the Ivern all squared away at 2 stars, because that is his only weakness right now. His left side of his tackle here is kind of, or his linemen rather, are kind of struggling to hold. But we'll see. The Riven 3 is quite a force to be reckoned with. I like this move back.
As a Green Bay Packers fan, I definitely know the importance of an offensive line and what happens if you lack one sometimes.
It's pretty much just protect this very fragile Heimerdinger. It's looking like, Tom Brady in his 50s at this point with how fragile it is. And the enemy Viego is on it, but the mana cost increase from Soraka able to stall it for just a little bit for a cast. So not as bad of a loss for Ram, but it could have been a lot worse if he did not get that last breath off.
That was the moment where Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay right there, with Heimerdinger getting swapped over to the other team.
That's right. That's right. And very much like Tom Brady, did not move a single hex, did not move a single yard the entire time.
It's true. Did win the Super Bowl later, so who knows?
That's true. That's true. I guess he's okay at football.
Yeah, he's okay. He's okay. I hate to admit that. Again, Packers fan, but I will admit it. He's okay at football.
Speaking of okay, we have 7th place finisher DQA there, meaning Becca's weird Spellweaver attempt somehow squeezed into 6th place so far.
I like it.
Trying to see if she can do better.
I like it.
We'll see.
Who's it going to be? Going up against Nubal right now, and Nubal, Renewer Spat on the Fiddlesticks. Okay, so this is going to be interesting Abomination comp.
What is
Daisies
going on here?
Yep.
Everyone having 2x2. It's Noah's Ark of Emblems. 2 Renewer Spats, one on the Fiddlesticks, one on the Volabear. And as a result, you see the Renewer Scion come into play, but no match with the might of Riven 3 with BIS. Robin Songs takes a loss. Pokygum now to single digits. 3 players are now in risk of dropping in the bottom 4, and Becca on a win streak.
Yeah, I was going to say, Becca actually is putting a win streak together with this. This is great. And, she's been one of the players, I said it going into the day, that it seems like it's either going to be 1st or 8th, right? And so with this trajectory, it might be a rare middle of the pack finish, but still, Becca has the ability to put together some really creative boards, and we're definitely seeing one now. Very cool.
Yeah, some really powerful items. It almost feels like the Drake simultaneously said, hey, I'm going to give some quality items across the board. Very flexible.
I guess, yeah.
2 Hodges, a Zephyr. Nubal is going to 9. Zephyr is extremely powerful in the hands of a player who knows exactly what to do for scouting. And Nubal has been diligently doing it the entire time. Is he greeting? He has 45 HP.
Yeah,
and says, I'm okay. I'm at 100 gold. I want more.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's all about how big of a roll down do you want to do at level 9, and in the situation where you've got the 2nd most HP in the lobby, you can greed for a round. Maybe not 2 rounds, but you can greed for a round.
He has 19 gold on his bench, 77. He's almost at 100 gold, and he says, I'm gonna save. And he's going up against Pokygum, who he looks kind of weak to right now, because that Yasuo 3 is ready to rock. Here comes a Dew-Bringer. Yasuo does get stunned temporarily and targeted immediately by Heimerdinger's turret.
Very good damage.
Yasuo does bite the dust. The save pays off. Nubal didn't even commit his Zephyr. He saved 100 gold. He saved the item of his Zephyr, and he wins anyways. Pokygum, the lone finisher in 6th place.
Oh, and a Nikos. You got to take the Nikos here. By the way, Becca won again. But you gotta take the Nikos here, I feel like, because getting that Heimerdinger 2 or 2-starring any of your legendaries here is big. And he's got the gold to roll. Okay, this is gonna be potentially a massive power spike for Nubal.
He did it. The madman did it. Crossed over 100 in value of unused gold. Finds Heimer 2 effectively through the Nikos, trying to see if he can roll for extra credit.
Yep.
Does not find it. Places Teemo in. Invoker online. Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
All right, so can he survive against the Jax? Can he survive against Becca's board? We get to see him go up against the Jax board now. It is a ghost.
Yes.
I believe it's Ramblin's. Oh, he gets a Zephyr on the Jax too. All right, yeah, being able to place that on the Teemo, pretty nice.
Yes, and with the Tome of Traits being the feature of the Radiant Blessing, seems like everyone's hitting their stretch traits. I don't know if Rue has 6 Knights, a little bit hard to tell, maybe just 4 Knights plus Revenants. That Jack's still ramping up, but just way too little time to be able to do it. So that's going to close it out. Becca trying to survive. Robin bites the dust. Becca wins!
Whoa!
A huge win for Wide People. Happy. Becca carrying delicious milk on her back. It must be tiring.
All right, Revenant or Mystic? Revenant. Okay, that's huge.
Revenant Teemo?
Or Revenant Gwen? But yeah, either one. You've got a couple good options. I do like the Ionic Spark on a team. I mean, you've already got one, I guess, but the more the merrier. I don't know. What else are you gonna build, right?
Yeah, I like this choice, actually, from Nubal. He can place Revenant Spat in the middle of the fight, or he can place it after the A-Bomb has committed its items.
Yep,
it's one of the things where he's just going to evaluate it mid-fight and choose based off what he's doing. And the big Doombringer against Rue's army, Viego targets the Volibear in the front, but because the Revenant Revive doesn't have any effect, complete wipe onto the army. Rue is dead. What happens to the rest of the lobby, though?
Ton of damage. All right, Becca out in 4th, which is great. Honestly, to take a 4th out of the way that game went, I think you're going to be really happy. That you don't need a 1st to win, and that was definitely a win for Becca. But we're down to our top 2, Ramblin versus Noob Owl. So Ramblin still trying to collect a bunch of points for Ramblin Robin. Robin out in 5th, so not the greatest finish, but not the worst either. That Frozen Heart on Volibear is really nice too.
Yeah, it's a huge deal because the biggest source of damage from Ramblin outside of the Heimer is the Riven. So the Frozen Heart will keep everything stalled, and it's an extra tier. So that 15 mana gives Volibear into that breakpoint plus the Renewer Spat to generate both health or mana, depending on the situation. The positioning for Ramblin is fairly generic. The turret positioning is going to be really big. And it comes down to the clash of Heimerdingers. Who's going to get the edge?
Did he get the Riven? He did, maybe.
50,
yeah, he did. He got the Riven. All right, is it enough? It's going to take a couple rounds, but is it enough to get him the HP lead here?
Nubal, the turret did hit the Heimerdinger in the back, and that burn will apply. Heimerdinger gonna get the second cast off here for Ramblin.
Huge.
So the advantage does go to Nubal halfway through the fight, and it does seem like he has the edge now. He is on a win streak. He's not going to kill Ramblin. We're guaranteed to go to stage 7 at this point based off the HP lead.
Yep.
We finally have Ramblin crossing the 40-yard line. He also has the opportunity for a Revenant Spat. Wow.
You know, do you want this or do you want Invoker? I kind of like Revenant here. He's going to go with Revenant, but where the number of casts are so vital, especially when you don't have any damage items on the Heimerdinger, the Invoker was a little bit tempting there, but yeah, I think Revenant is probably the quote-unquote safer route.
It's so tricky. I love the turret in the bottom left, trying to see if he can angle it. The Heimerdinger gets Zephyred! Nubal is trying to deal critical damage here for Ramblin. Heimerdinger has yet to cast the first time. Will he cast ever? Finally able to do it. A very good angle, but just not enough damage because you look at the difference in items. Ramblin offsets the Invoker. You mentioned it, DoA. You know, does he want to go for an Invoker buff? In his mind, he doesn't need it because he has 2 Shojins. But what's the trade-off? He lacks damage. And so as a result, that was a very critical blow here from Nubal. What a great job from Nubal to exploit the biggest weakness of Ramblin's comp.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of shows too what the strongest items are in the super late game, right? It's oftentimes going to be Shroud and Zephyr because delaying your opponent's cast or delaying one of their champions from attacking for a few seconds at the beginning of the round is a lot of times the difference between winning and losing in these 1v1s. So right now, the edge definitely over on Ramblin's side if he can keep placing these Zephyrs well.
We'll see. I mean, at this point, it might be like a randomize your Heimer positioning. Finds Volley 2. That's very significant. Sells to Garen. very optimal. Finds another opportunity for a spot for a unit, chooses to play the Lulu to try to reposition these items to put on Gwen, finds the blue buff, sells the locket, repositions Gwen to the front line, trying to see if he can move his timer at the very last second.
This could be big. Like, you lose a little bit of locket, but it doesn't really matter. That shield is like nothing at this point in the game. But getting 4 Mystic in is really important. Oh, and the Heimerdinger avoids the Zephyr. Is it enough?
The Riven's in the back line. Riven needs to survive long enough to get access to the Heimerdinger. No! The Doombringer is going to also interrupt the back line. I don't think he can do it. New Battle with the come from behind victory. Able to upset Ramblin's indomitable lead at the very beginning of the game. Really well played. I got kind of disheveled there, DoA, because there's a lot going on.
Can't blame you,
really
man. I think
yeah.
I think everybody watching that one was disheveled as well. That was a pretty awesome game, and I gotta say, Ramblin just playing it out extremely well with all the Zephyr placement. Missed that last one, but still hit the ones that matter to kind of set that line up. That said, really good attempt to get the 4 Mystic in to try to defeat that, but wasn't quite enough. But Ramblin' Robin continuing to be a team that seems pretty dominant here on day one, don't they?
Yeah, and more importantly, we get to see like the other side of it, right? Ramblin played a composition while not as strong as the one he won the lobby with, shows you that it's still capable of going deep because of its early lead. A lot of people love Riven compositions. I know Ace of Space, for example, posted that guide on the subreddit, kind of talking about all the different ways that the Chinese server was playing Riven. But ultimately, what it comes down to is even these best 3-cost rerolls still want to think about Heimerdinger in the late game, because if you don't got the Dinger, then you're going to be struggling in these big fights that require massive amount of AoE.
I thought you were going to rhyme there or something. If you don't get the Dinger, you...
I'll think about it. I'll get one by the next time.
Team Rat Owl claims victory in Group A. We got Nubal and DQA, of course, there. Getting the extra $50 for their prizing overall. Not bad. You'll take it.
Yeah, the $50 is nice. It adds up. The more you win, the more money you get. So speaking of, we have another first place from Buzzy Boo. Wow, Buzzy Boo is absolutely decimating Lobby B in terms of his results. Just so consistent. Spicy Appies with a big game 3. We talked about Rue Loves You, able to turn the tides around for her to get 3rd place after that back-to-back 8th. Spicy Appies following suit, 1-upping with the 2nd place. That is huge for Team People Riot, because GV8 did take a bottom 4 final.
Yeah, GV8 and Spicy Appy seem to be kind of like swapping spots now in these lobbies, where it's if one goes high, the other one goes low. So hopefully they can come together a little bit more for some more consistent results. But we will see. Either way, I'm excited to look at the overall results. The day one has already been a bit of a banger, and it's going to be Lobby B's victory first. Like we said, Buzzy Boo did get that first. So he and Jirachi will be able to get the win for Megafurts and get that extra 50. That brings them to 100 in pool play earnings. Not a bad start. And here are the overall results. Again, the teams on the right side will play tomorrow. Don't worry about that. But look at the lead that Megafurts have developed. 10 points ahead of 2nd place. That's a dominant day one in the first 3 games. We still got 1 game to go, Frodan.
Yeah. You mean Jirachi made such a good pick from Buzzy Boo. It's paying off, or other way around. I'm not sure who picked whom, but what a dynamic duo. Obviously, it's a 4-game sample size, so a lot of things could change, and it could have easily been Neanderthals on top based on the caliber of players that we have today. But we do have a gap between 1st and 2nd, and then we have a tie for 2nd place, a 3-way tie between Ramblin' Robin, Rat Owl, and Wide Peepo Happy, and then the rest of the pack kind of all there clustered in the 20s. So some really interesting landscape that's shaping up, but we do have 1 more game to play, DoA.
Yeah, we do. So this list could get shaken up a little bit. Again, just to reiterate, the teams on the right side will play tomorrow. So if you're fans of all those players, which obviously a lot of people out there are, just come back tomorrow for more games. But we still have 1 more to go today, and it's another opportunity for Megafurts to secure their top spot and possibly get a really, really high lead. I mean, honestly, the amount of points they're putting together, you gotta wonder if week 1 already they're putting themselves in a great place to get through to the final lobby. I mean, they'd have to have a pretty disastrous week 2 and 3 to not make it now, it feels like.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that in the weeks coming up. But
Sure,
for
I'm
now,
getting ahead of
just
myself
kinda,
a little bit.
just highlighting what happened in the other lobby since I was scouting it. Buzzy Boo, whose profile is hilarious, by the way. I didn't actually notice that Buzzy Boo is at Diamond 10 LP. That's not the position that Buzzy Boo's usually in. He's usually top challenger, but right now he's in Diamond 1. Able to close it with a Vel'Koz 3. So I'm curious to see how far these AP comps featuring Vel'Koz and Heimerdinger will go, because Vel'Koz 3 is not something you see in every game, but boy is it a treat to watch him destroy everything.
Well, you know what else is a treat, Frodan? A whole bunch of tiers in the lobby, which is what we got. And so you liked AP comps? This is an opportunity to possibly see a lot of them. As a lot of players are going to be thinking that direction if they don't get a glove and get to make like a early Hand of Justice or something like that. Buzzy Boo AFK. Either that or he turned invisible. Not worried about the early game at all. Yeah.
Yeah, he stepped away just as the game started. It's okay. Kha'Zix can win 1-2. I think Kha'Zix might be able to win 1-3.
I don't know. Buzzy Boo better get back here in a hurry. I mean, you've got the tier. Okay, he's back. He's back. Okay. All right.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, hello. 2 Ziggs.
So
you like Hellions?
Yeah, I do. I think Ziggs is back to being a pretty reliable item holder. I think people have written him off completely because he's not the. Back in the earlier sets we called it. God, I forgot it. It was like Kurum 6 or the idea is that people associate Ziggs with Kurum X. I can't remember off the top of my head why, but that was because Ziggs was a very viable carry. And ever since then, it feels like people have kind of fallen off the Ziggs train when you can't really 3-star and reroll. So that being said, Ziggs is still a very solid item.
Yeah, for sure. And you're not even committed at all if you're Buzzy Boo. Obviously, hitting that early Lulu is pretty nice because you might be able to get an early chance to go like 6 Hellion really fast or even 4 Hellion really fast. Another tier. So, I mean, blue buff is good on Ziggs. We'll see what the plan is, though. He also found that Lee Sin as well. Also, Assassins are even an opportunity if he decides to pick up the Pike. But, nope, just going to be Nightbringer for now. So, this is a board that can theoretically, kill a unit or two. Maybe not win the round, but, ideally help you sustain a little bit. Oh, but last minute assassin in the Kha'Zix. Okay.
Yeah.
Hellions are not the play, apparently.
Yeah, so, blue buff is a pretty reasonable item on Ziggs. It's just that blue buff, the item, is pretty weak. And when I say pretty weak, I might be one of the weakest items in the game, no cap. The reason why is because there's not many good holders of it outside of people that you don't really want to build around. Like, you don't really want to build around Karma right now, especially with how much unit movement is in the game, right? Tristana and Akshan are fairly common in late game scenarios. Will you ever land a Karma shot ever? When Akshan and Tristana are swinging across the board? Probably not. And then Gwen. And it's like, that's not a reliable unit that you can use blue buff for. So I understand the instinct for Buzzy Boo to not commit to that.
It's going to be 2 knights. And now you've got the Hand of Justice as well. Very open right now. He's Buzzy Boo. Could go up to 2 assassins next round if he decides to. Just wait.
The issue is that he has so many options at his disposal. This was one of them, Hand of Justice. Another was making a redemption and keeping his options open, because then you can use one tier for redemption, the other for, say, like an Archangel or Shojin. But Sunfire, I think, is also exceptionally powerful on Knights. And Warmogs is also a really nice consolation prize. So I think Buzzy Boo is keeping that belt open for those reasons.
Yeah. And no matter what comp you play, Hand of Justice is always going to be a good item. Just straight up damage booster healing. I mean, you just can't go wrong, right? So, continuing to play open. Having no trouble with the Tristana aside from chasing the Tristana down.
Yeah, but, it's like a game of Valorant, right? Like, who can get the eco kill, and like all 3 of them are just running around aimlessly and abandoning the objective in order to chase that one little last hit down. Yeah, that's kind of what it looked like.
Pretty much. Not wanting to do a ton of damage to Jirachi either.
Yeah.
To keep the teammate as healthy as possible. On board with the GV8 now. as he does a bit of scouting. Looking at the open fort to Tristana's board from Jirachi.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Okay. This is really, really fascinating for me. GV8 decided to slam a chalice of power. That is not something that you see players do very often, especially with
Classic
two
GV8.
swords.
Yeah.
A sword and a glove, right? So that, like, when you have a sword and a glove and a cloak, people, like, if you ask challenger players, 99 out of 100 are probably willing to tell you that they're thinking about AD in that situation. That's not true. With the sword and a tier, you can go Shojin, so I take that back. But the idea is his composition of items, components, made me think AD, and he immediately goes for a Chalice of Power, and many people consider Chalice of Power not a good first item to slam. So this is interesting. If aura items can come back, then GV8 and Mismatch Stocks are the best players in North America. If that ends up being the case, is a very exciting development in the meta right now.
When I watch GV8 stream, I feel like he likes to go into aura item strongboard into Heimerdinger late, you know, as often as possible. And look at the way our last game ended, you can see why. Heimerdinger boards are just so strong, right? So it feels like, as flexible of a player as GV8 is, that seems to be a direction he heads a lot, at least based on, you know, my stream watching of him. So we'll see if that's the plan or not. Either way, and I mean, if he builds a Shojin, then yeah, we're going AP. But either way, it's one of those situations where the Chalice, you know, boosting the AP of a lot of champions is gonna help you out.
Yeah, out of context, I'm not entirely sure what GV8 was hoping for. He clearly was like hoping that he would naturally hit something off of his shop. I don't think it showed me anything in particular. But that being said, this is a really interesting variation of a 4 Hellion opening. Most people would obviously prioritize the Tristana. And funny enough, GVA had components to go for it, right? He had a sword and a cloak and a glove. It could totally theoretically have played Tristana from this position. Chose not to. And yet, seems like he's going to take the win anyways.
No,
I mean,
if the
Udi or
cast goes
sometimes
off,
shield.
you got it.
Yeah. Interesting start for sure.
Yeah, selling up to 10 gold to get the interest rolling as well. But I like it. Like I said, he seems to really like strong board into Heimerdinger, you know, and finding different ways to make that happen seem to be a priority. But let's shift over to Raditz's board right now. Ginsu's Rage Blade and a Dragon Claw on his Olaf. Interesting. Very early D-Claw. And so what do you think about this, Frodan? Because I feel like QSS, Quicksilver Sash, is coming back up in terms of very viable in the meta right now because of the amount of crowd control and the amount of, you know, melee carries that just get stopped cold by that. I feel like we're seeing more QSS now. Starting to just
yeah. It's definitely true in terms of like some melee carries that might need it. You know, in the past, obviously Jax in set 5 needed something like that, or Mordekaiser, because you would want to use it to keep the melee carries going and not get chain CC'd.
Right.
It's a little bit less prominent now, but we do see some people going for it. That being said, Quicksilver is notorious for being weak in stage 2, and if he gets fed another cloak, you know, it's not great. Not to mention, Dragon Claw on the opposite end got a pretty significant buff. Now, you know, in the past, Dragon Claw just gave you magic resistance, right? And that was great and all. But now what Dragon Claw does is it gives you the ability by being hit by a magic or true damage ability, it casts a fireball that deals damage equal to the caster's max health. And so what that does is for units that hit repeatedly, it actually really messes them up. And this is why you actually don't see a lot of units like Varus, for example, in the meta, or other units that deal DOT AP damage, because they just get completely destroyed by a Dragon's Claw. Like one of them just messes them up.
I won a game yesterday by my opponent killing his own MF3 on my Radiant D-Claw. So it definitely, it definitely does work in certain situations. It's a better slam than it used to be for sure.
And also, you know, Ray knows that this is an AP heavy lobby, right? Like it was all tiers basically start with like gloves and rods. So if he's slamming Dragon's Claw, that's a very good adaptation to where he knows everyone wants to lean. He scouted, said, hey, Dragon's Claw could be really good. Olaf's one of the best item holders in the game in the stage 2. This is a very, very smart read by Raditz in stage 2 heading to stage 3. I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, going up against Melton Hart right now. Has the last Whisper built. Not going to be winning this round, but those are the start of some pretty strong items. feel like you're looking for the Tristana here if you're Melton Hart, but being at 3-1 and not having a single one at this point, you maybe want to start thinking about a pivot, but you know, at least you've got good AD items starting.
See, that's where you go wrong. No, you asked me before the cast, where are you going wrong? You said the P word. What?
Oh, pivot. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. This has been one of my problems lately. I'm pivoting too much. I'm not just sticking with the rats 24/7.
Whoa. You know who is ratting real hard right now? Just
yep.
You see Jirachi going for the Tristana 2. Finds it. Finds MF2. Full speed, the name
MF4.
of the game.
Yep. Well, that was a pretty great round for Jirachi. The roll down seems to be worth with the MF2 and the Tristana 2.
Yeah, my instinct was going there, but I looked at the rest of the board. Jirachi only hit Tristana and Misfortune 2, and while that's great, also has 1 star everything else. And when you consider how much gold Jirachi rolled, trading off 40 HP for this board, I don't think was worth. So I think that Jirachi is probably going to be pretty unhappy. You roll so much gold. You roll like 50 gold, and you found like 1 Poppy and 1 Kennen. What? Is that what happened?
You just have to look at the bright side, Frodan, where your board is, it's got plenty of space on it. You know? You don't have to worry about looking for space for other units, because there aren't any. So.
Wait, I misspoke.
There you go.
Jirachi found 2 Poppies. Whoa.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Much better. Much better.
Oh, terrible spot. One of the things I'm thinking about too is whether or not we slam Sunfire in this spot, because preserving HP is important. But obviously Morello and GA is like the best items for Kennen. It's just one of these things where Jirachi, where I whiff so hard. If I'm Jirachi's position, I whiff so hard. I'm thinking about playing for 7th. No cap. Like, I'm really sure that like 7th is like a good spot, like a good result here for Jirachi because of how bad they whiffed here.
I don't know, man. I don't know, because you've got the Thresh, right? You've got the big hook that we saw there. MF2 and Tristana 2 are going to do some damage. So I feel like you're looking at least 5th or 6th here. You're maybe not playing for... You're definitely not playing for a win from here. And you're maybe not even playing for top 4. But 7th, I feel like you're selling this board a little bit too short right now. I might be proven wrong, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of bows. 3 bows on the carousel.
So
Gets
many
to
bows.
Have your pick of the litter.
Hey,
the only reason why I say
Whisper.
that, it's true. The only reason why I say that is because other people are contesting the Hellion reroll from what I see in this lobby. So that's partially why I'm kind of writing Jirachi off. But having looked around, I knew other people were leaning into that tree. Other people are less further along in their Tristana development. And that could be really big. And that might be exactly what you said. And hey, we've seen people make some really big comebacks. That put Hoppy 2 is a really big deal. And if memory serves, like DQA was in a position where it felt completely unsalvageable and was able to bring it back to a top finish. So we'll see.
Melton Hart is actually waiting to pick this up. Okay, there we go. All right, what is it?
A Hellion Spat!
It's a spatula and a bow. It's a Hellion Spat. You can see Jirachi popping off. They are so happy to see that. Let's go to 40.
I can't believe it. And then he makes a Misfortune 2 and has the Hellion Spat for Misfortune. Oh my goodness. All right.
See, nothing to be worried about. Never punished.
My original hypothesis stands true, DoA. Jirachi is back to hoping for a 7th. We'll see.
That's crazy. Wow. Free Hellion Spat.
Hopping on board with Spicy Appies here, who's very amusingly watching the other people fight for 8th place right now. Buzzy Boo lost their streak, so Spicy Appy's the lone owner of 1st place. Seems like hitting 6 Sentinel without Lucian worked out really well. We're coming up on the Radiant Armory. Finds Sunlight Cape. That is very good.
Sunlight and Banshees are the ones I'm looking at here. That said, you could make use of Rascal's Gloves, but 6 Sentinel, one of the things that 6 Sentinel struggles with is durability, right? You're a huge damage applied very quickly kind of comp. So being able to avoid a hit from the first ability that hits your champion with this Radiant Declaw is pretty amazing. So I think this is the best choice for the situation. And Spicy Appies might be keeping the win streak going.
Yeah, I think CC is becoming really important crowd control, just like stuns. So I liked either of them. I liked the Sunlight Cape. I like the Banshee's Claw. I even like the Rascal's Gloves. You know, it's totally fine to place that onto your skirmisher. You know, and Sentinels, I definitely see where you're coming from. I think they are pretty tanky at this point of the game in particular. But yeah, 6 Sentinel is about to fall off in about a full stage. So I think Spicy Appies obviously has to plan for what he wants to do later. There is
think late game. Yeah.
Totally. Because this early game is free. This early game, the only thing more free than TFT itself is this stage 3 for 6 Sentinel.
That's right. And also playing TFT Fantasy. That's also free.
It's I like it.
Yeah,
have you considered hosting as a job before, DoA? That was really smooth.
I've thought of. I know smoothest sponsor shout out ever, right?
Yeah. Broccoli hopping on board has the life blade with the Vel'Koz going on. Has one more tier away from greatness. Can make like a Hand of Justice and a Chalice. That would be super powerful.
New too.
Okay, that's reasonable. We need a lot off this roll down to stabilize. Wait.
You're not wrong. Oh, huh. Interesting.
Okay, so we have a Kale. Whenever I find Kale on 7, I always stop and think, is this a Kale position? And, you know, the lifeline is actually pretty reasonable. It's just that we don't have Guardian Angel, and you just need like everything to line up. We talk about like narrow conditions to play a comp. Kale is the most narrow I think, of any composition that's capable of going top 4. But in reality, Kale's kind of a fake unit, as like we like to say in TFT. She's just not really there. It's just more of like, hey, what's a really cool power fantasy that we can fulfill? Oh, complete inevitability. We can put Kale in. Wait, everyone complained a lot about Kale. Maybe we should readjust her. And as a result, it feels like she's not that strong.
I think it's time for a TFT set without Kale. I'm just gonna put that out there. It's been fun, but you know, Kale's had a good run. Maybe it's time to move on. That said, I do wonder how Kale does with the Radiant Hex Tech, because you do heal off that true damage. So when she gets to a certain point, that might be theoretically like a ton of healing.
Yeah. That's exactly why it intrigued me. It's exactly why it intrigued me, DoA.
Yeah.
But alas, we're not there. Oh, Broccoli going for the blue buff. Not going to greed. It could have greeded for, say, a Shojin, but just wants to get the cast off reasonably. And you know, is there Invoker in this composition? There isn't. So right now, Broccoli is very desperate to have this Vel'Koz do anything. And if you were like betting on people to go exactly 6th, I think Broccoli's our leading candidate right now, because Jirachi and Melton Heart might be the bottom 2, but we'll see if they can do better.
Yeah, I think you're right. It all comes down to the Vel'Koz cast, right? Like it's 100% Vel'Koz cast. If Tristana here doesn't jump in front of it, might be a problem. Tristana, yep, gonna kill the Vel'Koz. Oh no, Vel'Koz, what are you doing? That was the wrong direction.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's tough. Like that's what the Vel'Koz does, right? I mean, or that's what the Tristana rather does. I guess it's still a round win, but you know, Vel'Koz still goes home feeling like a loser after that one.
Yeah. I mean, Vel'Koz did what Vel'Koz does, which is damage, and then hopes everyone else can clean up the rest. And Jirachi, we knew Jirachi's board was very weak. Not a surprise to see that they took a loss there. Helping on board with Raditz, who is streaking alongside Spicy Appies. Raditz with a pretty unusual win streak into 0 gold. A lot of times when people are win streaking, they don't roll enough. This looks a little bit like over rolling, which... You know, if I don't like criticizing players who have 2,000 more LP than me, because that's kind of what Raditz has right now.
It's a dangerous game, yeah.
If there's one criticism that I've heard other challenger players say about Raditz, is that his worst habit is he overrolls from positions where he doesn't need to. And this looks kind of similar to that exactly. We'll see if it's okay, because clearly he's not going to go 8th. There's no possible way for that to happen. But it does kind of hamper whether or not Ray could go into a more powerful position for a fast 8. And he is stuck on a very dubious Olaf 2 carry right now at stage 4. So while it works out well here, there's a noticeable drop-off coming soon for Ray. So I really hope for his sake he can transition well.
I feel like this is maybe like the Jax that never showed up, you know? The Riven that never showed up. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see indeed.
Oh, so Bry grabs a spatula off the carousel. We haven't talked a lot about him yet, but we know that the stimulus includes a spatula, so that could be a force of nature for him.
Oh, has a spatula
Looks like
already.
Yep, from the stimulus, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, you're right, exactly.
Yeah, because we know the Radiant Blessing was a spatula and a bow, so Bry putting that to good use.
Well, what's unusual is that Bry also had a Cavalier spatula, so that was throwing me off a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, a little spatula. So 3 spatulas in the game for Bry, a little bit down in components, which is a little bit brutal. If there's one composition that I'm a little bit less happy about, Force of Nature. Look, Force of Nature, one of the best items in the game, no doubt. But there's one composition I'm a little bit more sad about. It's Abomination, just given the fact that you want to spread items out and have your carry. If you're down a full item because of it, it does feel a little bit sad. But it's okay because, I mean, you get an extra champion. In this case, though, Bry's playing additional 1-star unit for Ironclad. So we'll see if that makes a difference here.
I mean, not against this board too much, because we've got the Teemo doing a lot of the damage on the other side, and that big Garen in the middle. Oh, the Ashe goes down. I think she got maybe 1 cast off, and this Abomination is not going to do a ton, I think. Teemo just throwing mushrooms everywhere, man. He doesn't even care anymore. He's like, I'm not going to even aim at anyone.
That looked like a full 8-0 wipe, and I count 8 units on the board. Bry did not kill a single unit. And I think this is, a couple of things going on. One, the dangers of the Draconic. You can see that Bry is trying to pivot off of it, but clearly needs to hit this Aphelios too. Finally does that. 2, Rangers are a very, very sketchy comp to try to play from behind. I can't emphasize that enough. 3, Force of Nature is kind of overrated if you're just going to play a 1-cost or a 1-star unit onto the board and you don't really have real meaningful impact.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of different forces working against Bry right here. And, we don't have enough information to kind of contextualize whether or not his line was wrong. But it does look like it's just not paying off here. This looked like a bot for sure.
Yeah, going up against Spicy Appies now with that interesting conversation, that composition rather that he's got going. But Bry's had a rough day so far. This round looks like it might maybe go a little bit better with the Aphelios. Oh, good damage. Okay, maybe turning it around. And Bry, like I said, he's had a rough day so far. It's been a 6th, and then a 7th, and then a 5th. So all bot 4 so far today might end up being the same. But if the Aphelios can start turning things around, maybe top 4 is still in the cards, barely for Bry here.
At this point, I think Bry's out legitimately to get top 4 would be an Aphelios 3. And even then, Aphelios 3 is not super great. Also worth considering, it really, really stinks that players like Spicy Appies has Banshee's Claw because that negates the first cast of Aphelios entirely. So really, that being said, I love the caster version of Aphelios. It is so fun to play when you get Rage Blade and a Shojin and he's just casting like 4 or 5 times a fight. It's really, really cool to watch. It's actually also not that bad. It's just that this position is really hard for Bry to stabilize. So we'll see whether or not Bry can pull it back, but I'm not optimistic about his chances, at least at the moment. Oh, hey, look, guess someone else is also playing that exact same composition. You get the Rage Blade and the Shojin. There you go.
Oh, yeah. All right. GV8 has transitioned into this now. 3 Ironclads. Oh, never mind. Finds Akshan 2. That is going to be a big swap and potentially a big damage boost here.
Yes. Huge. Needs to put this Chalice on. Does it. Put Shojin onto the Diana, Rage Blade onto the Akshan, just anything to get it going. Akshan 2 is a very big deal, has not committed to his spatula and his items because he's not really sure if he wants this Cavalier spat. And the Akshan 2 is going to clean everything up. We saw what Akshan could do, Akshan 2 can do for you.
Yes.
On stage 2. No, on stage 5. It's
you can do a lot on stage 2 too.
Yes.
if you hit him on stage 2, you're in good shape.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true.
Yeah,
that's true. Okay, now that we got all the rhymes out of the way.
Ooh, Sentinel emblem. Go 3 Sentinel with this, I guess. Otherwise, Assassin emblem might be an opportunity here. How is Assassin Akshan? I've never actually seen that in action. Do you know? You went with Sentinel emblem, but now I'm curious.
You've never seen it in Akshan? Is that what you meant?
No, I mean because he's gonna jump in and he's gonna swing away right away. So then you're just basically giving him a bunch of crit damage, right? It seems good.
We're pivoting back into 6 Sentinel. What is this madness? We're frontlining a Senna 1? What is happening? He's okay. He's like, no, this is bad. This is bad. This was abort. Definitely do not commit to this. I like that logic. Okay, so this is what GV's doing. He's doing a variation. If you go 6 Sentinel, it's for one reason and one reason only. It's to make Mismatched Socks the happiest man on the planet. Yes, he just had his baby. Yes, he has a great job. Yes, he's a good-looking, great TFT player. But there's one way to get his attention is to play what many people call it mathematically correct Sentinels. And that is because you get the highest health Sentinels a shield at the beginning of the round, so you don't 2-star your support units, and you keep your carry as the 2-star. I personally have never had success with that build. I've tried many times.
I think it's great, and I have had success with it, actually. So I'm the opposite here, and I would, in a heartbeat, sell that Galio 2 and put in a Galio 1. In fact, I won a game once by doing just that and making sure my Ukshan got the 6 Sentinel buff. So I don't know. I agree that I think it's a sketchy thing for sure, and it's more of, and he even, Sox even said when he was releasing that it was kind of a meme more than anything and just theory crafting on his part. But in the right situation, I think it's at least important to know that that's something to consider,
It's true. It's true. Something to consider. GV did lose that round, so maybe if he did that, it would have worked out. Hopping on board with back-to-back lobby winner Buzzy Boo does not look like a clear first here, but the rumblings of one. That is a Teemo with a ton of AP items. But here comes the Volibear to smash the back line. The big cast from Bride. Not able to eliminate the Teemo. So Ophelio's not able to finish that job. Teemo heals back a lot of life. If the Head of Justice gives additional healing bonus.
That Garen is huge.
Oh, that's true. That is a big Garen.
Yeah.
But also, he's Garen, so I'm not sure what to tell you.
He's Garen and he's Garen and he's Woe. Do a lot of damage to Bry. Yeah. All right. Well, the Mega Furret's looking to at least get another player in the top 4 in the last game of the day. Jirachi needs to find a way to maybe break through, but Buzzy Boo looking okay for finishing that way.
Yeah, I'm curious what Buzzy Boo is looking for. Bramblevest generically good. There's a lot of crit stuff just in the meta at the moment, especially people have Jewel Gauntlet, makes their abilities not be able to crit against that one unit. So very nice pickup. A little bit awkward that it's on a Garen, and he has a Garen 2, and that Garen has a floating cloak. Just awkward all around. Might even roll here from this spot. I wouldn't hate it. He has a couple of 1-star units that he could stand to hit. Also has a Fiddlesticks that he wants to 2-star. I think going to 9 is also completely reasonable, but I also am on the belief that if he hits a Heimerdinger, that these are really good opportunities for him to squeeze in one. So it's tricky. This is a really difficult spot here for Buzzy Boo.
I'm a little bit surprised he sold that Garen. I was wondering if maybe the plan was to remake the Garen 2, as crazy as that sounds. He only needed one more, and then you can get rid of that floating cloak that you mentioned earlier. That said, this Garen is plenty strong enough on his own, and you can always turn that into his effort at the end of the day. Seemingly having not too much trouble against Broccoli here, and... Yep. Garen, can you finish it?
Yeah, he should be able to finish it. So what Garen 2 and Karma 2 can do in this stage is really punish low rollers. And Broccoli does seem to be, in that camp. Speaking of which, we did have Jirachi fight for 7th place, and I know that Jirachi thought that they could get like a 5th or a 6th, but honestly, from the get-go, I was like, this is a 7th. I just felt like it in my gut, just watching it, having whiffed exactly like it. It was doomed. So Jirachi, don't feel too bad about that. That was just unlucky. Hopping on board with Spicy Appies. What can we do on 9? With the force of nature, Spicy Appies has all the rumblings of a top 1, but needs things to come together.
It's really neat because you don't get to see a lot of side synergies added on to 6 Sentinel very often, but when you have the Force of Nature, that opens up a ton of options here.
Yep, that is correct. Does end up finding an opportunity to hold on to some really core units here, maybe even chase a Lucian 3 that's on Spicy Appy's mind. Lucian 3, actually surprisingly one of the more underwhelming 3-star 4 costs in the game. Actually, if you talk about Sentinels that are 3-cost carries,
or 3-star carries. I think Galio 3 is actually pretty impressive, to say the least. It kind of destroys the board in one fell swoop.
You're not going to build one of those, though. You need mathematically correct Sentinels, you know?
Ah, true. But
Yeah.
if you 3-star Lucian, then doesn't matter what you 2-star.
Oh, that's true. Then you can 2-star the Galio. Yeah, that's the option. I think right now he just wants to get some of those items off of the Senna.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, these are items that are okay that Senna can use right now. Oh, finds a Nico? Lucian 3 Dream?
And a
50
Deathblade.
gold at 9. Let's go.
Oh, dude, Deathblade for the Lucian is amazing too. That's one of the best items for it. He finds a Senna, immediately sells his current one. Yeah, he can go, Deathblade, Last Whisper, and QSS on the Ukshan if he wants to. Otherwise, he's going to have 2 pretty well itemized carries at this point. Another Lucian.
It's happening, DoA.
He could have a Gwen too if he wanted right now as well.
Oh my god. He's a little dizzy, but I don't blame him. This is a lot going on.
Gwen.
Who do you even Thieves Gloves?
Alright, gonna go with the Fiddle.
Nah.
Sure.
Oh, well.
It's fine.
Missed spell shield opportunity, but yeah, even if Appies doesn't win this fight, it's actually a little bit closer than he would like it. It's okay because he has HP to give and he has a lot of gold to roll. Does look like he ends up getting the narrow victory here, but that's because Buzzy Boo, I believe, was ramping up gold. Yes, trying to go to 9 as well.
Yep.
We do have our top 4 solidified. GV8 and Bry have been
top
on the
3
bottom
even.
4. Raditz also ends in 4th. So that means that Spicy's really wants to make up for lost time here. You know, GV8 in 6th place. That's another 6th place for GV8. Means that Spicy Appies wants to try to maximize as many points as he can. And he's in good position to end in 1st place here if he can get that Lucian 3 with that Nico's waiting on the bench.
Yep. That's right. Needs 2 more Lucians to be able to do it. Yeah, sell the Garens. Save up a little bit. Roll. You've got another couple turns or so. Buzzy Boo and Broccoli are the 2 opponents. See what Broccoli's got. Broccoli's got that Vel'Koz with the Radiant Hextech Gunblade that we talked about earlier.
Yeah. I mean,
serving him well.
It's going to be nice to have this Lucian dodge that first hit. The mathematically correct Sentinels is fully in play. Lucian gets the shield because of all the 1-star Sentinels on the board. And that is going to be death for Broccoli. Spicy Appies guaranteed top 2. Trying to go up against Buzzy Boo, who is trying to defeat the ghost of Broccoli. That's a little embarrassing. Whoops.
I mean, that's great for Spicy Appies that Broccoli was able to take a chunk out of Buzzy Boo for him. That's generous.
Yeah.
All right.
To end it right here before Carousel. Ideally, I love rolling it down before big inflection points like this. Gwen 2's nice, but Lucian 3 would be nicer.
Certainly would be. Yeah, you can see buying a lot of 4 costs just to thin the pool a little bit. Rolling again another Ukshan. Oh, you could just go Ukshan too. It is a 1v1. I mean, you've got one more. You know, you've got at least 2, maybe 3 lives left, so you don't need to be that hasty, but at least it's an option. It's good to have. Strong Teemo too.
Oh, but the Shroud does land pretty meaningfully on the right side. The Eunice does not have the Revenants to really back himself up. He's taking a lot of CC. And the Teemo is at 2 stars, and that is a big upgrade compared to before. Lucian is just at 2-star with not the best items either. So all of a sudden, a little crack in the armor. Spicy Appies will look like to be a position to go for first. Might end up getting second anyways. Let's see if the Carousel can get anything good for Spicy Appies.
Well, you've got, I mean, Ranger Spat actually would be nice for the Ukshan. You've got, I think the Declaw, is going to be definitely the thing you want to pick up with all the magic damage from Teemo coming in on the other side. I think the main priority here is you need to avoid that Shroud, because that Shroud is really what caused the Ukshan to not be able to cast until it was too late. Look at this, he's skipping all the Galios. I'm telling you, mathematically correct Sentinels. Oh, he doesn't find the Lucian, though.
This is just the top 2, I think, in this case.
Yeah.
Like, you
see
have
what he can avoid.
Like, but the Lucian 2 is his other source of damage here on top of the Akshan 2, and it's just not really that strong. And that's a 2-star Volibear coming out from Buzzy Boo. Are we going to see the hat trick? 3 first place, no Heimerdinger, but does have this really powerful Teemo. Everything is also clumped in the front line. Teemo's immediately committing to it. Akshan with the heroic swing, trying to take out the Teemo, bounced up immediately. The Dragon Claw trying to stall it.
And right now, everything's come to perfectly. Timo throws the mushrooms in the back. Akshan is down, but Lucian's down to his
One more
last
Lucian
breath.
cast.
The shield from the Sentinels coming up huge.
Garen might be
Looks
too
like
big
neither player
here.
gonna die.
Is Garen gonna cast? Oh my goodness. Did he do it? That Volibear. Yeah, he
he's
did
done
it! Spicy Appies. Wow, the mathematically correct Sentinels bring the win. And, you know, I think he had to make the decision at the end of that game, Frodan, like, who he wanted to try to avoid the Shroud with. And he decided to try to avoid the Shroud with the Akshan. I think that was crucial, because getting the Akshan into the backline early and doing that damage really was what set him up for the success, because then you got the damage coming this way from Akshan, the damage coming this way from the Lucian, or opposite, I guess, depending on if you want my hands to be the same as the board. But you get the idea. You know, you've got the damage from both sides, and that was really close, but he's able to do it. That's impressive.
Yeah, really well done. You know, we hadn't seen that kind of win where you're able to capitalize off specifically Sentinels and abusing the mechanic that specifically says whoever's the highest health. So you're like, oh, I don't want to 2-star my units. And he can use that gold instead to fast 9. He chased his initial win condition through Lucian 3. That was absolutely the correct line to play. Didn't hit it, adapted, played Akshan instead, repositioned. Everything about that game from Spicy Appies, it seemed, from our perspective, seemed very solid, and it worked out really well. And hey, I guess Mishmash Socks knows a thing or two about TFT.
Yeah, the guy's pretty smart. He knows his TFT for sure. But you know who else does is GV8, who picked Spicy Appies as his teammate. We heard in the intro video, you know, he thought he was a really smart player, and I think we definitely saw that on full display there. And in a team tournament, Frodan, it takes two, right? You need to both be able to get those top fours to bring the points. And so I'm very curious to see how the points are going to all shake out at the end of day number 1. But I'm more excited because we've got 2 more weeks of group play after this. We've got another day tomorrow with all of those teams for tomorrow, and then we got another 2 weeks of it. It's great before the finals. It's going to be really fun. We're going to take a look at the winners for Lobby B in just a moment. We kind of know who it is. We've been talking about it already. But what do you think? I feel like we are seeing a few teams kind of rise to the top already here in day 1.
I mean, you got to talk about Buzzy Boo. Like, as much as Spicy Appies really, you know, was able to hone in and get that win.
Yeah.
Buzzy Boo got another second place, which I believe means that it was a second, first, second for Buzzy Boo. Averaged second place or better. So it's like,
you're right. It's you're absolutely right. Second, first, second. Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous.
36 points on the day.
1.5. That's a 1.5 average for the day. That's absurd.
That is one of the best 4-game sets that we've ever seen. You know, we've seen players get 3 firsts in like 5 and 6 game days, but to not take any lower than second, like, you really can't ask any more from your teammate than that, you know?
The Diamond 1 buff is just too strong.
I guess so. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Ladder, you know, he could be higher on the ladder, right? But still.
He could be happy.
He could be a little bit higher, I think. I got the sneaking suspicion. Yeah.
We got real-time graphic updates. You can see that with the input of points from Spicy Appies improved from 6th to 5th right before your very eyes.
Wow.
We're doing it live. It's not pre-recorded. As we take a look at how Lobby A also transpired. Becca coming up huge for Team White People. Happy, caring, delicious milk like he's a liquid in a cup. Rue loves you with another good performance. Okay, so start of the day, Rue loves you and Spicy Appies really rough. Back-to-back 8th places. Games 3 and 4, these two players really came up huge for their team. So shout out to Rue, shout out to Spicy Appies. Great mental rebound. DQA and Ramblin', another top 4 finish. Robin Songs right behind them. Really interesting, and also taking a look at their lobby complexion as well. I really want to see what that compositions were, but give me a sec, though. I'm going to load up their lol chest.
Yeah, well, while you do that, we'll look at some of the other results here. Wide People Happy, of course, getting the win. In our Lobby A, Becca and Delicious Milk. Becca getting the first place. Delicious Milk getting a couple points anyway. Currently in 2nd overall in the points, but we'll have to look at the overall point standings and check out all the teams in just a moment. But that's impressive. Like, it's really cool to see a lot of these names come up and do well, right? And so there you go. Obviously, Megafurt's basically untouchable today. They have absolutely conquered the day at 54 points. That is amazing. But Wide People Happy, Delicious Milk and Becca standing strong at second, and Ramblin' Robin, Rat Owl rounding out our top 4 as our other 2 strong teams on the day. But overall, you know, pretty tight results from first through about 4th in our first set of groups here.
Yeah, you know, 7 points is a pretty significant gap from first to second. That's almost the difference between, you know, first to 8th. It's like 9 points, so it's like pretty close to there. But, you know, really good job by the other teams in the bottom to pull it back, right? Like, it looked like the teams like, you know, 6th to 8th were going to start getting really pulled away from, because there was like a 8 to 10 point gap somewhere in the middle of the day. They really brought it back, and now every position above them feels attainable. Yeah, Pokemon Fan Club and Neanderthals are a little bit further behind, pretty significant gap there, but it's not unsalvageable. Had they taken additional bottom 4 finishes, I think it would be like, okay, I'm ready to exit this tournament on day 1.
Yeah.
They're still in the running, though.
You know, I've been doing a little bit of VOD review for Jirachi lately. They're interested in casting too, and I think they've got some chops there as well. But one thing I told them, and I tell every player who comes to me and says they want to maybe try casting, I'm like, play as long as you can first, because once that's gone, it's really hard to get it back, right? And you could tell Jirachi obviously has I think a lot of tournament success ahead of them right now. Don't you know, the casting is a fun thing, but it's probably should be a side thing at this point, because that's some pretty talented performances put on by them and the other duo of the Mega Furts there. But wow, what a day. The games were actually really fun. I love this meta. We're not done yet. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to get an interview with our winning team on the day. That's going to be a ton of fun. Until then, enjoy the hype video that I believe we saw. I think it's the same one we saw at the beginning of the day. We'll have to wait and see. And then, quick break. We'll be back with that interview. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Giant Slayer series presented by Wisdom, everybody. And here we have perhaps the two wisest players of the day. Who knows? It's Jirachi and BuzzyBoo, Team Megafurts, the champions, well out ahead of everybody in points. I gotta ask, first of all, did you come into this with any sort of team strategy in mind? Was it just individually we're going to try our best, or was there any sort of duo-specific strategy you had? Jirachi, do you want to speak to that?
We didn't really come in with anything super specific. I think coming in, I've been playing a lot more AP comps, and Buzzy had been doing a lot more AD, and we were kind of gearing towards like that kind of division, but we weren't necessarily like set on that. Like game 3, I ended up playing Akshan, and Buzzy was playing AP. We were kind of coming in with like a general strategy, but we were doing a lot of stuff on the fly, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, in particular, Buzzy, it seems like your LoL chess doesn't have a lot of games logged. Have you been busy? Have you been playing on an alternate account? Is that purposeful?
Honestly, I've just been playing Valorant. I've been enjoying Valorant as a game a lot more than TFT. So, I mean, I'm just playing what I enjoy, but I still enjoy this tourney. I still enjoy playing the tourneys. I've been playing in the last 2 weeks of the Fight Night. And they're all enjoyable. Like, I preferably, I don't enjoy solo queue as much because the game quality is not as good as these tournaments. But these tournaments have been have had such high quality players. They've been really fun, and then I have so many friends supporting me playing these tourneys.
So you got pretty deep in the mid-set finale too. Would you say you're more of a tourney player than a ladder player in general? Would you label yourself like that?
I think I do play the same way as I would in tourney and in ladder, but the only differences would be in ladder you're more open to limit testing things. In tourney you're not very comfortable with like trying new comps. I have tried new comps in tournaments. Like 2 weeks ago in Fight Night, I tried Hellions for the first time, went 8th. I don't think it was because Hellions were weak. I think it was because I didn't have much practice on it. But yeah, I think it's just the limit test versus playing what you're comfortable with within tournament versus ladder.
Okay. Interesting.
Got it. So, Jirachi, can you go into a little bit more detail? Sorry, I'm apparently getting choked up listening to BuzzyBoo talk about.
It's so beautiful.
We heard you talk a little bit at the very beginning through the intro video about why BuzzyBoo was a great teammate. Can you go a little bit more into depth as to why that is?
Yeah, Buzzy and I mean, we've been really good friends pretty much since we met around like somewhere in set 4.5, and we've been hanging out in Discord calls a lot and just like helping each other get better, and just we know how each other play like quite a bit. I feel like we just had a lot of chemistry coming in, so partially because like we're really good friends and we can play off each other really well. Like this tourney, I saw like Buzzy's popping off. I didn't have a ton of confidence because like me on ladder hasn't been fantastic the past week or so. So I was more than willing to come in and see that Buzzy's popping off, and okay, I'm gonna just play to kind of like grief the lobby, set Buzzy up to get these really high placements. Like game 3, there was when it got to top 4 and I had like 50 gold or something, and I saw like Buzzy has an insane board, he's going 9. I straight up asked Buzzy, are you going for first tier? He said yes, so instead of also trying to go 9, I just rolled down. It didn't quite work out because I ended up just getting 4th anyway, but I decided to just go ahead and roll down, try and get some hits on the lobby and set Buzzy up to go first. And same thing in game 4, I was like, okay, Melton Heart, there's a good chance he goes first if he gets Hellions uncontested, and I had double cloak start, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna grief Melton Heart. We're gonna let Buzzy do his thing, and he ended up getting top 2. And I think part of that is just because like I'm willing to set him up for that. I don't care about going first myself because I know I have enough confidence in Buzzy that he can close it out and get those high placements.
That's really cool.
All right.
That's really cool.
Yeah, that is the actual kind of teamwork we want to see from teams in this tournament. That's really neat. Speaking of teams, I want to get your take on the lay of the landscape as far as the other teams in this tournament goes, and I want to answer from both of you on this. So starting with you, BuzzyBoo, who is the toughest tournament to play against, or team rather to play against in the tournament so far, and who's the freest? Give me 2 teams.
Oh, freest. Oh, that's
Yeah,
mean.
toughest and freest.
Oh.
Let me pull out the list here. I'm gonna go to the score sheet.
It can include tomorrow's teams too, because obviously we didn't see everybody play today. So don't forget the teams that are playing tomorrow as well.
So I think for the toughest opponents, I would put Soju and Perseverant. I think Soju will be actually very scary to play against because Soju has a lot of solo queue experience. We've been grinding a lot of games lately, and I think practice will definitely make you a better player. So I think Soju will be the example of that. As for the freest, I don't want to be mean to anyone.
It's hard. It's actually hard. Like, I look at the list, I'm just like, these are all good players. So
you gotta pick someone, though. That's the rules.
I'll put a friend
that I just
here.
established right now.
I don't want to blame anyone that I respect. I respect a lot of players here, but I'm gonna put Rue Loves You and Pokegum. Even though Pocky just rated me, they're gonna be the first players because Rue just went 8-8, and I'm just like, if I get them in my lobby, it's a free top 6.
Wow, that's what you get for the raid. Wow, that's
excellent.
That's rough.
Excellent.
You said you didn't want to flame, and then you took it one step further. And you specifically attacked the person that just helped you. That's cold. That's cold, man. All right, Jirachi, how about you?
Okay, I'm gonna hop on the Team Neanderthals' free train. Clearly Rue as a VTuber gets a debuff from having a VTuber. So yeah, give Pocky and Rue to us next week. We can take them easy. Free top 6. The team I don't want to say scared because. And I talked about this on Teamfight Talk Show, actually. I remember this specifically. Like, I never go into tourneys, like, scared of anyone. But Robin and Ramblin', I really think that's the team to watch out for. They're both good ladder and tourney players, and they've played together in duos tourneys before. They clearly have chemistry, and also, like, looking at the scores and seeing, like, Ramblin' popping off. Like, I think that team is going to be the one to watch out for sure.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's good choices. Good choices.
Yeah. You have any last questions, Frodan?
Not really. I think like
All
overall, really good job, and I just want to say that y'all crushed it today. Great.
Yeah. So on that note, any final shout-outs either of you want to make? We'll go to you first, Jirachi.
Shout out to the Ferret Corner Discord. That's where our team name comes from, the Mega Ferrets. They're great people.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
I would just like to shout out myself. Twitch.tv/BuzzyBoo1. Second shout out, I'll do this shout out to Small and Ferrara. They've been supporting me through TFT in general, and yeah, I just want to shout them out.
All right. Well, there you go. Shouting out yourself, flaming the person that raids you. We found the heel of this tournament. We found the bad guy. That's it's gonna be fun to watch both of you play. The Mega Ferrets crush it on day number 1. Congratulations on that, and looking forward to seeing your games in the future. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. So Frodan, that was probably one of my favorite interviews we've done in a row. That was a fun one.
Yeah, I think that, what's really important to know is that a lot of these players hold each other in deep respect for their gameplay, but they're not afraid of making fun of their friends. And that's kind of the attitude that we carry in TFT. And I think that's hopefully reflected. It's a little bit more of a casual setting. DoA and I are letting a little bit more loose, joking around a lot more. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of money on the line, and there's a lot of pride and bragging rights. You can see that, players like the ability to kind of trash talk each other in a good jest. Overall, it's just a great kickoff day for Giant Slayer series, and I couldn't have asked for a better way to get things started.
Same. It's been too long. Giant Slayer series was one of the tournaments that we loved to do, back in the earlier sets, set 3, a bit of set 4, and so it's great to see it come back. It's great to see it in the new team format. What are your final thoughts for day number 1? What did you learn? What did you experience? Tell us all about it.
I learned who are the true carries of each team. So you saw BuzzyBoo carry Jirachi. You saw Becca, who actually tied Ramblin' in points for Lobby A for being number 1 today in performance. Carried Delicious Milk. We saw Pocky and Rue are a duo made in heaven because they both went 7-8 in points. So it's really fun themes and chemistry going on today. And DoA, my favorite part was casting with you. We haven't casted in so long.
Thank you.
Overall, I hope we get to do it again.
Yeah, likewise. I'm sure there will be more opportunities for sure. But that is going to do it for the first day of Giant Slayer series presented by Wisdom. It has been so much fun to cast with you, Frodan, and also to see all the great games. I think we've got a really good meta here. And I think if I could pick one thing I learned is that AP comps, I think there's a little bit more item flexibility in that regard, and there's a little bit more in terms of champions out there to kind of consider when you're going about your ladder games. I know I'm going to, so I'm excited to take this to the ladder and hopefully find a break out of the funk I've been in lately with that. Well, wish me luck anyway. But thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for the staff at Wisdom and Giant Slayer TV for putting on this amazing tournament. Thanks for Ball Street and Riot for helping fund the prize pool. Thanks to the Teamfight developers for making Teamfight Tactics. It's been a great day number 1. Don't forget, day number 2 is coming up tomorrow. So we've got 4 more games with 8 different teams to check out. Do not miss that. Until then, stay safe, play some TFT, and we'll see you next time.